Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined by, some might say, a couple of deviants. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Jonesy. How you fellas doing?
I prefer the term deviators because we deviate from the norm. That's why we are deviators. Wouldn't you say, Jonesy?
We are, mate. We are. I don't know about you, but I am seriously deviated.
Yeah, so, but then I've seen what happens when you guys have a few brewskis. You fucking
craziness ensues.
Now, that's when the deviants come out. Yeah.
I've been known to wear oversized glasses when
oversized glasses, leather pants, monkey shoes, and stroking a triceratops.
I think. What if we say he's a deviator by day and a deviant by night?
Oh, I like it.
There you go.
It's true.
I like
it's true.
Well,
no one's got any idea what the fuck we're talking about.
No. We are a podcast where you are not going to know what we are saying because it's all in jokes. But hey, try and worm your way into that one, fellas. But yeah, we occasionally talk about some games, and there's no better time to be in the gaming know than in and around E3. Right, fellas?
Yeah.
But before we kick off, can we have a little bit of housekeeping? Because just to get people in the in the zone. So Chris is particularly husky today because he's got a bit of a throat thing going on. So he's not been smoking 20,
don't say
40 fags today.
Thing.
He's got a little scratchy throat thing.
Mate, this is internet radio. You don't say a throat thing. Jesus Christ! Look.
Oh, true. Actually,
I went down on Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I got the throat cancer now. Just fucking deal with it, all right?
Is that actually how Michael Douglas got it?
That's what he said,
He said it was HPV.
She had HPV.
No, because the thing is, if you have HPV, it can give you cancer, right? So I think the idea was she had HPV, but then of course, didn't she get annoyed and come out and go, well, now you're just telling everyone I've got HPV
around, like everyone, isn't that a type of glue?
Human papillomavirus.
Oh, okay, that's slightly different. Okay. When he ate it.
No, because the idea is that she had it, and then he went down on it so much that he got it. Because guys can get it as well. Because like women get it, and I think the thing is they can not know they have it, and it can give them like cervical cancer and stuff. So it's very important. Get your vaccines, girls, to stop your HPV.
I just think
men can get it, and it can.
I think he was trying to show off. You know when you meet a gay guy who's still in the closet, and they're trying to make themselves out to be as straight as possible, so they're just talking in ways that no one would ever talk about eating pussy, and they're like, "Oh, I could fucking live down there. I could eat that shit for hours." And you're like, no one says that.
Yeah,
no
I
one
could get cancer from it.
Yeah,
I could eat a peach for hours.
I'd go there. I'd be down there till I got throat cancer. I just think Michael Douglas is trying to cover up the fact that he's,
maybe.
Do you know what I've just realised we've got the answer to the question of when Tony Montana says, he says, "How'd you get that scar?" And he says, "How'd you get a skull of that eating pussy?" And he says, "How can you get a skull of this eating pussy?" It's possible because you can get cancer, and then they have to cut it out, and you get a scar. So
I think we've just got a new member of the Rose Gallery, known mug rancher, Michael Douglas. Welcome.
But the other part of housekeeping I was going to mention was making me sort of take my attention was I've got a bloody fly buzzing around because it is summer. I had the windows open and the light on to record, and that sodding fly is. If people see it in front of my camera, it's not a UFO.
Yeah, but hold on, Jonesy. I mean, some people say that you and the fly go back donkey's years. So
mate, we're like an old married couple.
I'm not going to hear a single complaint about flies until you guys have seen my fucking spider situation. It is a living hell over here. It's like a remake of Eight-Legged Freaks, but it's all solid. It's just taking place within my bedroom. I'm the only one here, and it's me and the spiders.
Am I the only person who actively? I don't actively. I passively allow the spiders to remain in my house because I hate flies, and I'm so psyched.
Well, it's not fucking working for you, is it, you idiot?
It's obviously I need more spiders. I've got a couple of big juicy mothers hanging out in the corners. As that fly went past.
No, don't.
A couple of big juicy mothers.
Don't ever refer to a spider as juicy. Jesus Christ.
Oh, they're chunky-legged buggers knocking around in my house.
Chunky-legged buggers.
Let me tell you, if I ever see any fucking eight-legged freak, that's it. Oh, they are done for, donezo. Yep. I don't want them anywhere near dead.
No, they catch flies. I'll go one step further.
Okay.
I'm going to piss you off.
Go on.
I bought a spray off Amazon specifically for killing him. I've got it over there.
No.
Yeah, I swear down.
So I was really happy this week because my son was given sunflower seeds to grow a sunflower for his school. It's like a thing they do.
Okay.
So it has become my sunflower. I've named it Sunny. I water it every day, and it had little green flies on it that were trying to mess with it. And I was really annoyed. And then the spiders moved in, and they're eating all the freaking little flies on it. It's wicked. There's like 3 little tiny spiders who live on that plant now, and they keep it clear of evil little bugs.
One night you're sleeping, those 3 spiders, they say, you know what, haven't had a fucking crunchy fly for a while. Let's go and eat on Alex Jones's fucking nostrils. No, thank you.
He lives in the garden.
No. Dead. Dead on sight, okay? It's like a DMX movie up in here. If I see him, they're dead.
Do you reckon we get loads more views if I went and got one of the chunky leg bastards and just like held it up and let it run around my hand while we were recording?
I would actually disconnect. I would just be like, you yeet me out of here as soon as possible.
You know when you talk about befriending a sunflower and calling it Sunny, that sounds like the character breakdown for like the mentally disabled character in like a Tom Hanks
Simple
movie.
Simple Jack.
It's like he has to nurse him back. It's like Rain Man 2, except he's got a sunflower instead of Tom Cruise.
Because this is the thing. The problem is
every before he plays a hand of blackjack, he just says, "I've got to talk to Sunny too." And Sunny says, Sunny says a twist.
Let's take it full circle, right? We're gamers, which means we're competitive by nature, right? We're always after the next crate. We're always after the faster run. Okay. And my kid's school,
that sounds like a fucking G Fuel advert.
My kid's school sent home a pack of sunflower seeds and instructions, and on it says, we will be growing these sunflowers into seeds into sunflowers, and then there'll be like a competition at the end where they like weigh the head of the sunflower and see the biggest. And I'm like, we're winning that. My kid don't care. He's 5. What does he care about sunflowers? So now I'm nurturing that beast to make it the biggest, strongest sunflower it can be, so he can win and we can get all the loot.
I think you need to do a Lance Armstrong and cheat your way through to victory. Can I ask a very personal question, and it might not come across for the podcast audience because I'm not entirely sure, but I am hearing a hell of a lot of static cellular interference in my headphones, and I wonder if any of you have a cell phone near your microphone. And primarily, I'm looking at Alex Jones.
I have a phone here. I can't hear any static cellular interference.
I can hear it, but my phone is as near to my microphone as it is every recording we've ever done. Shout out to episode 75. 3/4 of the way to 100. I am now on airplane mode, so there you go, just in case.
I'll do. Do you know what? I'll do the same thing.
Captain Chris, I'll pilot for this afternoon.
Hell yeah.
The floor is yours. My phone's on airplane mode.
I appreciate it.
Airplane mode.
And fellas, we've been going for almost 8 minutes now, and we haven't even fucking done the actual housekeeping of saying that we are available on YouTube and Twitter at SuperShow Pod, and we're available on podcast platforms of your choice. I'm talking Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Throat Cancer, whatever you want to talk about, it's there, all right? We are also available on Paisley Radio, which, if you didn't know, it's internet radio, available at paisleyradio.com. We are there Thursdays, 10 p.m. Repeat the next Monday. Fucking delicious, fellas.
I mean, I've never been happier that we got the 10 p.m. slot on Paisley Radio, because there's got to be some kind of watershedd thing that we're safe.
Every
That's
week,
got to be the best slot.
Yeah, every week.
So 10 p.m.
Big shout out to Big Paul Wycherley, who is our inside man at Paisley Radio. And every week I'm terrified that Paul's just gonna send me a DM and be like, dude, like, it's done. Yeah. It's done. So
You guys
like what the fuck are you guys are talking the weirdest shit.
Yeah, we had to rejig the schedule, put you in the 4 p.m. slot. Turned out you talked about Michael Douglas eating pussy, and then one of you did an impression of Rain Man. So we're gonna have to pull the plug.
Well,
but thanks for the hard work you've put into this point.
Well, there you go.
But these are important things to cover off. that people need to be made aware of. So
yes,
it's important to get that out.
Made aware. You know what else people need to be made aware of? The new Battlefield, fellas. Because Battlefield has been revealed. The fabled Battlefield 6, the one that every single person was saying, hey, the trailer's coming out this week. No, this week. No, this week. And hey, guess what? It actually fucking came out, and it is no longer Battlefield 6 or just Battlefield. It is Battlefield 2042.
I gotta say, I dig that name. Even as someone who didn't play 2142, I dig that name.
Yeah, it's cool. It's clever. As we speculated before, as the rumors dropped. It is set in near future. Obviously, we're not living in 2042. We might be. I mean, I might have just had a stroke after my throat cancer and woken up in the year 2042, still thinking it's 2021, and you guys are just trolling me. I can get down with it. That's all right.
That wouldn't be surprising, Chris, as it seems that everyone is effectively trying to say that the year is 2020 again this year. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if COVID goes on long enough that they'll keep just saying it's 2021.
Listen,
Jonesy is actually 2042.
Jonesy's just got a fucking carrot up his arsehole because the Olympics are continuing to call it the 2020 Olympics, and the Euros, the football competition, okay, they're also calling it 2020. It doesn't matter, Alex Jones.
Chris, am I allowed to do it of my age? Am I allowed to just say that I'm a year younger than I am?
Well, we did mention in the messaging today. I think, Jamie, you hit the nail on the head where you said, like, Alex Jones has just become grumpy about everything. There was a time, Jonesy, where I swear you were the most optimistic fucker, like infuriatingly so. And just
I still am.
No,
people have gotten weird.
Oh,
it was because
Battlefield looked a bit shit.
Yeah, it was Battlefield, Horizon. There were a few other bits and pieces, but it
Far
was just
Cry.
Far Cry. A string of things that you just don't get me wrong. It's part of our jobs to be at least somewhat critical of these things and poke holes where we see holes that need poking. But it was just, I want to be positive. I'm happy when you're happy, Jonesy. You've got one of those personalities where I want to see you smile. Okay.
Do you know what it is? Is these days everyone is either insanely like with something or insanely happy, they're at a 10, or they're insanely anti something and they're at a 0. And it really bugs me. Like everything has to be like one, like black or white, 100 or
Jonesy,
0. And I'm like, do you know what? We need some middle ground, some grays in here.
Have you been on Twitter lately? It's all about the Elden Ring, buddy, which we will be talking about later. But FYI.
Jonesy's got
I bet you everyone's saying they're all at a 10.
Well, it's actually
sorry, Jamie, because I have to jump in here because on Twitter I am seeing people that I follow who fucking wouldn't even know what a difference between an Xbox and a fucking DualSense controller is, right? And they're like, oh my god, Elden Ring looks cool.
And you're like, what are you doing?
Like, okay, weirdo. Anyway, sorry, Jamie. I interrupted you, and from the bottom of my heart, I don't care. Carry on.
That's podcasting on Discord, baby. That's the life we live. I was going to say that the whole thing has exemplified exactly what Jonesy is talking about, though, because it does seem like the reaction is very much is that Elden Ring is a 10 out of 10 game within like a 1 out of 10 stream, which is like, again, because everything's so binary, it has to be the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. But I like to think that our takes are never that binary. We do have a weird habit of being one positive, one negative, one on the fence. But generally, I don't think any of us are 0 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 on Battlefield, are we?
No,
I don't think so.
I'm very positive on Battlefield, actually. And should we just talk a little bit about what Battlefield 2042 is?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, obviously, we spoke about it being near future, because in the trailer, there was like fucking those little Boston Dynamics robo-dogs.
Hell yeah.
To be honest, looks a little
wicked.
bit too dog-like to me. Like, they gave it like a little head, and I think they fed it like a Scooby snack or something. It was a bit weird.
I think that was probably my favourite thing about the trailer.
Yeah.
Well, just that dog.
Yeah, the dog. I could have had that. Could have been it for me. You could have shut it off after the dog, and I was happy.
Oh, for me, it was the nod, the tip of the hat to the crazy plays that you can only really get in a Battlefield game. When the guy's in this fucking jet, ejector seats out, which is a play that people do. It's like a fucking legit Battlefield strategy, and then just get back in the jet and fly off. That's
my favorite bit is, again, we're jumping all around the trailer now, but fuck it. Towards the end.
Hold on, full transparency, okay? It's 25 minutes to midnight, so you're gonna get what you get, and you're gonna enjoy it. You fucking degenerates.
Hell yeah. I was going to call out, though, that when towards the end of the trailer, where so obviously big storms and hurricanes and sort of dynamic weather events appear like they're going to be a fairly big part of the multiplayer component of this game. And obviously in the trailer, we saw a big hurricane enter the battlefield. And I liked that you have the shot of all these soldiers running away from this hurricane together, and in the middle of the road there's this 3-wheel tuk-tuk that 3 of them are in, and I'm like, yeah, okay. If you're going to go for this whole sort of, as you mentioned, Chris, with the jet, if you're going to try and bring back the quote-unquote battlefield moments, like there's another point where a guy drives a quad bike off the top of a skyscraper into a helicopter. If you're going to try and bring them back, then let's just go, let's open wingsuits inside hurricanes. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
do it.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. You get sucked up anyway.
Well, there we go.
There you go.
But yeah, they are promising next level of, what do they call it? Levolution, or the destructive environments, which will... Yeah, they're just taking it to the next level, like Hydrobot, okay? Just fucking deal with it. I'm antsy today, fellas. I don't know if you've figured it out, all right? I've got like a sinus infection, and I'm tired, and I'm cranky as fuck. So this is the world we live in, as you say. All right, but other than that, yes, Jamie touched on it. There is going to be some form of dynamic weather effects, which kind of ties into the idea of it being in near future where, guess what? Paris Climate Accord, fucked. No one followed it. And that was our last chance, really. So
End of the
thanks.
world.
Yeah.
Oh no! Cue a load of people complaining that they're bringing politics into gaming by saying that they're agreeing with global warming and stuff. Like,
that stuff has already happened. I thought you were being.
No, it hasn't.
I swear on my
Has it
life.
really?
Well, because basically they've done the classic Ubisoft thing of like they've made a game. Yeah, it's in they do what Ubisoft do all the time when it comes to politics, where they've made a game that very obviously has things to say, and when people point it out, they've gone, sorry, no, our extreme weather thing, that's nothing to do with politics. It doesn't matter if it was brought on by global warming and people blah 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 blah. Like they basically said, our politics are not political. Sorry, our politics are for gameplay purposes only.
I suppose it could be the case that the weather stuff is part of something that gamer controlled, like some sort of weather thing you can control in a game and almost use as a
don't
thing.
think so, mate. I think this is going to be.
I mean, I wouldn't have thought so, but I guess it's a possibility, right?
I mean,
if you could effectively, like
possible.
you did in Warzone, what you could activate nuke. You could sort of like bombard certain areas of the map, couldn't you?
I don't think it's going to be controllable. Jamie's got the scoop, it seems.
I've got the scoop. A developer at DICE LA has explained that Battlefield 2042 is not political, and the climate-ravaged setting is simply there for, quote, gameplay reasons. So they were talking to IGN, and IGN asked them about their political themes, despite having the player take on the role of a citizen displaced by war and climate disasters. So for anyone that doesn't know, this is basically a huge all-out war between the US and the Russians, but like the soldiers are like non-patriots or non-pats, they call them. So it's basically a war between people without a country. The quote they said is, the reason we decided to go down this route is so we could create a narrative with this world that we would create through the eyes of the no-pats. We want to get more spectacle in there and more massive events are happening. The setting fits that perfectly, blah, 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 blah. It's for gameplay reasons across the board. So everything they're saying about the presence of US and Russia, climate disasters, and so on and so forth, for gameplay reasons, not politics.
Yeah. Can I be the slightly grumpy Alex Jones and say I wasn't massively taken with the trailer? It is just a CG trailer. Obviously, we're going to have to wait until we sort of see the gameplay. I think it's the 19th. Was it? They said they're going to see some gameplay.
It's going to be at the Xbox Bethesda showcase 13th. Over the weekend.
Yes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. There's something that kind of not rubs me out the wrong way, but when you've got a game which has a big trailer, big release, and everyone's really excited about, and then you kind of show the elements of the game that are gamer made. So those sorts, like we were saying, those moments, jumping out of a jet, shooting it with a rocket launcher, driving an ATV into a helicopter. Those are the sort of elements that players discovered you could do in Battlefield, and they're very cool. But for the developer to then take it and to say that's what we're going to showcase, it's almost like saying, hey, we're creating a sandbox and this is how you guys like to play it. I almost prefer it when they just say, this is the cool world we've created for you, and they wait and see what the audience does with it. The thing, it just kind of made me feel like, I suppose it was that sort of idea of someone saying, oh, look how cool this thing is. Oh, this is what you like to do. This is how you like to play with it. I'm like, just show me your cool, like the thing you've thought of and what's cool about your game. I don't necessarily want you to show me what some like random players have come up with in the past with your. It just makes me worry that you're creating a sandbox that isn't maybe as directional as I'm hoping. And then you'll go, now you create the game from it. And that we've seen that before with like Fallout 76 and stuff, where they were like, we've given you the world and now you can do whatever you want with it. And you're like, you've made a trash game because you put nothing in it, because you're relying on me and other players to fill that world with the story and what's going on. I need you to do more. I need you to build the game more for me. And I know it's a CG trailer. Maybe I'm reading far too much into it, but I wanted to see a bit more.
I don't know if I see it the same way. Like for me, the thing that Chris was talking about earlier with the inclusion of the jet sort of the jet rocket launcher whole incident, which, as Chris mentioned, was something that a player had done in the previous game. That was less of that was less of them sort of like using things that players had discovered and created in the past as like a hook for a reason to sell a new one, and more of just their way of saying, look, one of the things we maybe got away from with 5 and 1 was that style of Battlefield moment. We know that you guys liked the sandbox and the things you were able to do. This is just a very concise and entertaining and cinematic way of us saying, we're going to let you do all that stuff again, and we're going to let you create even more crazy moments because there are going to be things that weren't there that first time, like robot dogs and hurricanes.
No, that's totally fair. I suppose in my mind, I would like it if you had the CG trailer, then you had the gameplay reveal trailer, then you had the wacky third trailer where you were like, look at all the crazy stuff you can do. I suppose in this, I wanted to see more of the like an idea about destructive scenery. Although that's not gameplay, I wanted to have a good idea about.
But you got that though.
No, but I wanted to see it more kind of in. I don't even know, man. Like, so how it might the way that they showed the ATV flying to the helicopter, if they had focused down more into like somebody using a building falling on a tank or something in more of a kind of oh shit, I'm going to be able to do that in the game kind of way. They had destructive scenery, but it was more of
I think they covered that when they had like all those fucking grapple hooks going to the side of, was it a ship or something? Like the hull of a ship in a shipyard.
Yeah, there's like a big...
and they pulled it down. Like,
and you can go inside after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that to me looked more like the thing they had before where you had the moments in the battles that were kind of pre-scripted, and then you went from the building standing up to the building laying down. It felt more like that, which I don't want. I don't really want those pre-scripted things. I want kind of anarchy where you can blow up a building, any building you want. Not so much of when you get to minute 10 in the game and your energy bar reaches this level, the building falls down, like, because that's prescribed anarchy, which I don't know.
I hope there's both. I hope we get sort of the more predetermined large scale evolution, the kind of thing that has to be predetermined because of the sheer scale of it. And I hope we also get an element of that sort of that Battlefield. For some reason, the game that I always remember it in the most was Bad Company 2, as opposed to like 3 or 4. But like, hey, I've got a grenade launcher attachment on the underbarrel of this assault rifle, so I'm going to blow a hole in the side of this building that this guy's hiding in, and he's just there.
Bad Company 2 for me as well. I'm the same. Bad Company was the game that you're like, that is the game you blow the wall out and you can kill them and you can destroy buildings. Yeah. I think that was that level of. Damn, I wonder, some crazy cool shit.
Because, like, what's the equivalent of that in that? I think it's in Seoul, in somewhere in Korea, the skyscraper map where you saw the helicopter chase. And, like, what's the equivalent of blowing a hole in the wall in that map where, like, everything is sort of these big skyscrapers and they've confirmed you can grapple up to the top and there are going to be helicopters and stuff. Because you can't do a Red Faction guerrilla and just blow the whole bottom floor out until it collapses in itself, right?
Which is what I want to do.
But hold on, didn't they have something like that in was it Battlefield 3? No. Battlefield 3 where it was like, I think it was a map in China or something like that, and you could...
Oh, when the skyscraper collapses.
Yeah.
I think that was the Levolution in one of the maps on 4.
That's what I was talking about, where it's like pre-scripted. Like you got to the certain point where the building fell down, and then it was almost you're effectively in like the map point 5 or point 2 or whatever, where you're like, oh, now we're in this section of the map. I think maybe we're not there. Yeah, they're in level design where not there yet. Yeah. Sorry, where you can just have that go crazy of any building in the game. Maybe
I think it would be okay if it wasn't at like a set point. So if it's like, oh, take this objective, then take that objective, and then that will cause the building to fall down. If it's more a case of saying a bunch of players can work together at any point in the match in order to create this destruction, even though that destruction might be predetermined, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. See, I need it to be like Mercenaries, man, where you can nuke a building and the building falls down and the building is gone.
But how do you balance
that? That is wicked.
So in this game, it supports up to 128 players on a map if you're on PC, PS5, or Xbox Series X. I think it's 64 for last gen. But how do you balance that, Jonesy? a building falls down and you crush 128 players.
That would be wicked.
Probably get a trophy,
how do you-
maybe an achievement.
Yeah, how do you? No, you're right. I mean, you're right. You're right. And
A story
I think
for
one of
the Battlefield, for the next Battlefield trailer. Oh, look,
Yeah.
this happened in the last game.
I don't know. I could, in my head, it's just something like it would be wicked if there was a moment in the game when a nuke launched, but the building it hit wasn't pre-scripted. It could be like one of 4 or 5 skyscrapers, and you could, and the team that managed to set it off first and pick the building. I don't know. It'd feel more like you had more sway.
Jonesy, this is where it could seem like a gimmick, and it could play out as a gimmick. Who knows? But the dynamic weather system could be that chaos factor that you're craving, right?
That's true. That's totally true. Yeah.
Because a hurricane could come in and just fucking rip up a building. You could be in that building. What you do? Get out your wingsuit, change the fucking fundamentals like that.
Yeah, they
You know,
have to keep that stuff
or there's a
fresh.
thunderstorm and everyone's got to get inside somewhere, and then then it's fucking CQB.
There is a part of me though that does know what Jonesy means, which is that I think there's an element of this game which is that Battlefield hasn't actually been away for that long, but it feels like it's been away for a little while. Certainly Battlefield in a modern or close to modern setting has been away for a little while. And I think when you talk about this in the context of this is EA and DICE putting their all into this brand new game, this is the first Battlefield game running on next-gen hardware, even though it is also a cross-gen release. It's also the first Battlefield game, like for a long, long time, as far back as I can remember, to ditch a single-player campaign completely, to focus entirely on this multiplayer stuff. There's a part of me that just wanted this to come out of the blocks and say, here's something that here's a multiplayer experience unlike anything else. Whereas maybe what I'm prepared for now, and we'll see on the 13th, is something that's just like Battlefield 4 turned up to 11. But by the same token, I'm ready for Battlefield. Like, Call of Duty's been a good servant to me for the last couple of years. I didn't really dig Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1, but I'm ready to dive back in. And I didn't put the bullet points down because I wasn't 100% sure on the details, but they've mentioned some great quality of life changes that I've heard sort of anecdotally, like this idea of, how Conquest Mode, which is where you have a bunch of points across a huge map that the teams are trying to capture, apparently they're going to be kind of like stacked and objective based in such a way where they're trying to like funnel more fights to certain areas to not spread people out too thin. And they're also doing things like, obviously your rough thing in Battlefield is if you have to spawn back at your base and the nearest relevant objective is miles away and there are no cars around. So now they're doing things like you can call in drops, so like get vehicles dropped to you in the middle of a match so you're not stranded. I like those quality of life changes. Operators instead of classes, so any operator can equip any weapon, so you might not get stuck as like, I'm going to be a medic because I need a medic, and that means I'm using this gun, now I've got an SMG. Anyone can use any gun. I like that stuff, and I'm ready to really sort of give it a good crack, I guess.
I think when Battlefield's at its best, it's my favorite multiplayer game. Like I've easily had my favorite online matches, and I think it's because the way that they managed to. But it's often not because of how they make the game. It is, but it's how you end up playing and how the players play it. And I suppose that's what I'm always worried about when a big online multiplayer comes out is how they think you're going to play the game. Often isn't how it ends up being played. And so that's the question I always have. But some of the Battlefield matches that I've had in the past I still remember them to this day because you can have such cool moments. And Battlefield always has that great thing about there's a line and it feels like I suppose a war would, where you are fighting a line of other people, and if you break the line, you can breach and everything changes. It's really dynamic. So if they can level that up, like Jamie, you were saying, to level 11, if they can have those moments come thicker and faster, and you get some of the craziness as well. Like, it could be an absolutely phenomenal, fantastic game. But it's all up in the air at the moment. But I'm excited for it. I'm acting
Good.
the grumpy part a little bit. I'm excited. For it.
What are your guys' thoughts on? Jamie, you mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
No single player campaign.
I think that's good. I think that's good for them. Sorry, you asked Jamie.
No, both of you for sure.
I think it's really good. I think it's a good idea. The strong part of them is always in the multiplayers. I don't think waste any development time on the single player. I think focus on that multiplayer, stick with it, make it the best it can be, and don't worry about the half. Because come on, let's be serious. We often get from Battlefield a half baked, like, oh, the
The vignettes.
little enemy animations don't work quite right.
Oh,
You
right,
walk to a window and there's like weird shit going on outside. Everything's kind of not working exactly right. Don't bother with it, mate. The best multiplayer.
Yeah, I 100% get that perspective. I guess the most honest I can be about that whole thing is that I'm bummed out, but I don't really have a good reason why. Because I've never really fallen in love with any of the previous Battlefield campaigns outside of the Bad Company subseries. I think that they have, certainly in the last handful of games, like you mentioned the vignettes, Chris, from Battlefield 5, like, they were not a waste of time, that's harsh, but those resources could have gone into the multiplayer, and if they'd had a tangible impact on it, then I guess, in theory, I'm all for that. I suppose what I liked, especially in the Battlefield 3 and 4 era, about the campaign is that their tech, what DICE do with these Battlefield games, and it's true of the Battlefront games as well, is really is always very striking. I think technically they're some of the most sound, and the whole sort of audio-visual experience of the Battlefield games in the past has been really sort of impressive. And I think sometimes those campaigns can be tailored in such a way where they're a really cool way to experience that technology and that engine. But that said, I don't really have a good argument for why, the multiplayer should suffer for the benefit of like a 5-hour, probably subpar campaign. It's a difficult one to argue.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same page in terms of that. All right, nice one.
What can I just say that one thing I'm psyched about? Battlefield 2142 is the best Battlefield game for me. It's my favorite, and I'm psyched that they're going for 2042. If they can capture a little bit of that 2142 energy.
I hope so.
Big dick energy. They will. I genuinely think that this is Battlefield's year. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, COD's going to fucking sell gangbusters because it always does. And they've got Warzone to kind of prop up the anything that's ailing. But yeah, I think Battlefield's going to... I think this year's going to be a big one for Battlefield. And Battlefield fans. And yeah, I just... It's like Jamie says, like, I'm fucking ready for a Battlefield game. Give it to me.
Can I put a question to the two of you before we move on about Battlefield that I already know the answer from you guys? But I don't know. I did get this little energy from the trailer. That is, we are going to see a battle royale using those weather events somehow in order to, like, I don't think it'll be the same. I don't think it'll be a circle that shrinks. I don't know how they'll do it, but I think they're angling in some way for a battle royale at some point in the future.
Maybe they've mentioned that there is no battle royale and they just want to focus on, quote unquote, a Battlefield multiplayer. Yeah, yet. But then again, they also said about the single player, like, nothing's out of the realm of possibility. But I think, what are they going to do? The last time they tried to, what was it called, Firestorm? Didn't pan out for them, right? Didn't pan out for them. No matter how good it was overshadowed, right? And it was overshadowed at a time when there's nothing really to overshadow it, which is a feat in itself. But now they've got the juggernauts of fucking, you've got your Apex, you've got your Warzone. Like, where are they going to fit in there? Maybe they're just looking at it, and I completely agree. Imagine that this is what they said. They said, putting, you're talking about resources from a single player perspective. They probably said, we're not going to win in the battle royale like area, but we do have multiplayer fucking nailed.
Right.
And why do you need a battle royale when you've got 128 player maps?
I think that's the key point. I think when you've got 128 players and the biggest maps in Battlefield history, I think you put that to market and say, actually, does that alone draw people over from Call of Duty, whether that's people who would have traditionally bought the full price Call of Duty release or people who play Warzone or whatever?
Yeah.
Do Battle Royale players gravitate towards Battlefield because actually everyone's bored of like respawning with nothing and having to loot all their stuff, and actually they want the scale and scope of 128 players in one place, but they also just want to shoot people and then die and then come back straight away.
I'll tell you what, I've been, we'll get to our catch-up section, but I've been playing a game it kind of got me so over Battle Royales at the moment.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get there.
Scroll down in this document. Fair enough.
Yeah, but we'll get there shortly. But first, fellas, how about a comment? Comment of the week. Coming in from Alex Rayner. The worst part of the Super Show is the waiting for next week's episode. I stopped having time to listen to podcasts a few months ago and had a good time binging trash opinions. Hell yeah, we're good at trash opinions. I hope at some point down the road, you boys can afford to do more things with the SuperShow. Probably a typo, but I quite like SuperShow as well. Maybe that could be like a separate kind of strand.
It's like a mukbang.
A mukbang,
The
yeah.
SuperShow, SuperShow.
The SuperShow. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. With the SuperShow, as ATG was, where I went for my fill of gaming shenanigans. Basically saying, where's ATG 2.0, you bitches? And I get it. You know?
We're working on it.
I mean, we're not.
We're getting there.
Are we allowed to say that? Are we?
There's nothing
Not
to
ATG
say.
2.0, but you know. Independently, we're working on it. in that I know I'm trying to get to the point where I make enough money that I can hire you fools, and then we can just do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not happening as quickly as I hope.
Yeah,
But
I think that,
yeah.
Can I just lay out the brutal reality of it? As unfortunate as it is, all right. We've always been bad with kind of like keeping our time. Like those 6 lists that used to be like 8 to 12 minutes long. They used to take us an hour to record in the VO booth because we just talk shit because we're friends at the end of the day. And what do friends do? You fucking shoot the shit. But we're terrible at keeping time, and we're terrible at kind of being disciplined and saying, you'll record from this time to that time. We chat for about an hour before we hit record on this fucking podcast. And sometimes we chat for an hour after as well. So the point is this. We are spread out across London and outer London. And to try and synchronize our own lives, which, you know, the main focus, unfortunately, is not SuperShow. SuperShow is kind of like our a little dish on the side, as it were. But to try and kind of converge all of our schedules and all of our free time and all of our ideas and try and coordinate to do things more than the podcast, it's been proving more and more difficult, despite our best efforts. Right?
yeah, there's a horrible irony in that as we each, I suppose, as we move further away from ATG and we all of us independently get better into a position whereby we could maybe afford to do more financially with SuperShow, we'd have less time because we're working for other people and we're doing other stuff, and it just gets more and more. Everything gets more difficult, unfortunately. Which is
I will say this though. So recently we put up the pilot show for a quiz show that we were developing on ATG. So that's available on the Patreon. But I've been getting a lot of
I laughed.
It's so funny.
I
man.
didn't.
I
Didn't even
fucking
watch
love it. Jamie going fucking high pitched squeaking and
No idea
and
what you're talking about.
hopping on one leg. I love it. Anyway, loads of people have reached out and be like, man, we got to get this done. You know, we're willing to help out, you know, speak to the Discord server. I'm sure people can fill in any blanks where you got blah, blah, blah. And that's like really commendable. And it's not like it's something we don't want to do. Well, I'd love to fucking do it. I would love to fucking have ATG 2.0 reborn, you know? SuperShow is the fucking spiritual successor where podcasting is, I don't know, a quarter of the content that we put out. I'd love it. You know, but maybe we just got to come to the realization that those days are behind us. Never say never, but you know,
unfortunately,
like
it's like you're saying, it's just it's time and availability, and like, so what I think the ATG days, what people don't maybe realize is we like, and I think you've said it before, Chris, is that we had people paying our salaries, we had a lot more time to do stuff, and we had studios, we had camera equipment. There's a hell of a lot of resource behind that sort of stuff that we used to do.
We also didn't have children.
We didn't have children.
True.
Well, but even when we did, like, we were at work, right? So we were the 9 to 5. We were there. We were in the same room.
9 to 5.
You guys had to come in.
More like 9 to 9 or 9 to 10.
Well,
actually,
11.
to be fair, it's like get in at 11 and leave at about 10 p.m.
with a 2-hour lunch.
With a 2-hour.
Like the difficulty of you guys wrangling me for a VO was more like you coming down to the floor below and going, coming to VO. Now it's like you've got to travel 40 miles.
Yeah, we literally used to go down, smack Jonesy over the head, pull his chair away from his computer while he was still trying to clutch his mouse and his keyboard, and just drag him to the VO booth, kicking and screaming.
Fun times.
Totally.
But look, I mean, I'd love to, and maybe there's more that we could do. We are kind of, funny enough, in this past week, that is the reason why we brought up this comment, is because we have kind of been having these strange conversations of like, what else can we do and how can we do it? Don't know if anything's going to come of it, but we're aware and we're thinking of things. But to give an example, like Jonesy said he wanted to make a video on Star Citizen. It's difficult, because we're writing our own scripts. We're kind of sending it back and forth to each other. Jamie had written a script, a very good script, for Army of Two. Hopefully,
did we not make that in the end?
No.
It's actually a weird thing in this. I think what writing the scripts, recording stuff, and then making videos like we used to do in ATG is actually quite a difficult process, because there's a lot of sitting down, recording, and you have to make everything on the back end. I'm still hopeful that we can maybe do things where we can get together, record, and then we've got the footage, so we can make stuff.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard. It's time, it's money, it's a whole load of other things.
Yeah. So I think for us, it's kind of just trying to think of what. It's a mixture. What do we want to do? What do we think you guys want to see from us? And what is doable in the resources that we've been given? It's a bit of a harsh reality, but hey, there you go.
I'm really hopeful. I don't know when. I was hoping it would be this summer, and I probably won't, unfortunately. But I really want to do that thing I said, where we all get together and then we do the recreating things from video games. And we've had some really cool ideas. Like Jamie had a few the other day that he was saying to me, "Oh, it'd be cool if we did this." So like, whereby it's almost like we have to try and do something from take like Hitman. Like you've got to take all the clothes off of a mannequin, put all the clothes on, stuff it in a wardrobe, and you've got to do it in a certain amount of time and like record that sort of stuff. Like I think it probably would never go anywhere, but I think just for a weekend it'd be friggin' hilarious to sort of try and do something.
Well, I mean, like, fellas, that just doing some more Let's Plays would be cool. Even, I know we kind of streaming on our own things, although you guys haven't streamed in a while, but even when was the last time we streamed a game where we all played it? Right?
Yeah, very true. We need to do that, and we need to do that with Resi 8.
Resi 8. Other things like Best Game Ever. It was nice. It was decently received. Didn't get many views, but the people that did watch it kind of enjoyed it. And I remember as soon as it came out, Jonesy, you messaged me, like, right, when's episode 2? And it's like, well, it fucking took me longer than a month to fucking get
2020, that's actually 2025.
Yeah, exactly. Well, 2042. Thank you, Battlefield. But yeah, like the idea for that was to do it a lot more often. But it turned out to be something that just took too long to make, because you needed a decent chunk of time to just sit down and focus on it. But it kept on getting broken up, if that makes sense. But anyway, we digress. The Super Show will hopefully always be here. I mean, we've only missed one episode in 75 attempts.
It's a pretty good run.
Pretty good run.
Not bad.
You got in a few extra little videos, like the Doom video, which Jamie wrote, which is fucking exceptional. The Best Game Ever. So there's a few things. Hopefully we'll manage to pull a few more of those out of our assholes. But yeah. But fellas, I guess that's as good a jumping point as any to say, hey, we've got a Patreon where you can support us. It's patreon.com/SuperShow. Now, the idea here is to keep the Super Show running. And, you are the people that do keep the lights on, the cameras rolling, getting us back every week, except for that 1 week that, we should probably stop talking about. But I got some names here. These people are really, we've had loads of people help us out, and there's some names on screen now, but, you can get access to our Discord server for as little as $2, and we are on there chatting to people. It's a good time. But in particular, I would like to thank Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Javela Cujo, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Grits, Mindful Pig, Nathan Pierce, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream, and of course the big boys. These dudes, not only do they keep the lights on, fellas, they keep the roof over, well, at least my head. I'm talking about Shellshock, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and the Dude Abides. Thank you, all of you. whether I've called out your name or not, if you've supported SuperShow over the years, even if you don't support anymore, that's fine. Even if you supported ATG, I just want you to know that it truly, as cliche as it sounds, it does mean so much to us. It still kind of blows me away that, people are willing to support us in this way. So thank you. And hey, hopefully we can grow the Patreon, which means we can grow the content mill. Like
I had a really weird thought the other day. So I guess it was yesterday. Is that because I love doing Super Show. Like I like just chatting to you guys about games once a week.
Yeah.
If I didn't do this, we would barely talk outside of like texting and stuff. I think, which would suck. And also, I don't have as many friends who are like into gaming as much as you guys are. So I think I wouldn't get to talk about it. But there was a weird thought that I had where I follow a whole bunch of other YouTubers now who are like. They've got like 500,000 subs. They've got like 300,000 subs. And I was like, shit, man, we had like 400 and something thousand subs.
426,000 at our peak.
And then I got recognized.
Who's counting?
Mate, we had 93 million views.
That's mad, man. And so I got recognized at my local shop by a random. And I was like,
I got recognized in Greece, dude.
That's insane to me. Like that's so insane. Like that happened, and it was a thing that now feels like something in the past. I'm like, we need to get back to that.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't even matter, right? Like we hit that height, it's like doesn't even fucking matter.
Was because you don't at the time. I don't think you appreciate it. Like my niece, who's like 7, said to me the other day, "Are you famous?" Because because she was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I make videos." She's like, "I went, hell no." We do like I do a podcast for like people that like gaming stuff.
You know what the problem is, Jonesy, is when we're at ATG. We were in fucking cookie clicker mode, right? You know the game Cookie Clicker?
Yeah. Just make stuff, put it out.
Yeah, and you want the numbers to keep on going. And all you're doing is focused on getting those numbers to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And
you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You kind of lose track, you lose focus because you're always looking ahead rather than looking at what's in front of you. And you know what's in front of you? Friendship.
Yes.
Are either of you two going to contemplate getting off the leather couch and inside the next 5 minutes?
I was just going to apologize and say I'm not trying to make this super introspective, but that was a weird way of saying thank you so much to the patrons who do still support us and are still here, because there's we're a lot smaller audience now, but it seems like a more close-knit community. So thank you so much to all of you. I didn't mean to take it back, getting weird introspectively, but
I mean, you could have at least cried, is all I'm thinking. Like, just
no.
Let's get the views.
I'm an ugly crier. I'm an ugly crier. And I'll do the spider thing.
Don't do the fucking spider thing. Jesus Christ. I'll kick you off the Super Show with your spider shit.
I'll put it in a tub, and the next week I'll have it as a tub.
That's the secret ingredient of the viral box right there. Spiders and tears.
Spiders and tears.
Okay.
And then eat it live while crying.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jesus.
I would actually watch that quite happily.
Right, well, fellas, I don't have a clever kind of segue to this, so let's just talk about the games we've been playing. Jamie, hit me up. You've been quiet while Jonesy and I have been reminiscing.
No, I'm reminiscing too. I'm just reminiscing internally. I'm just
the best way.
Just running through all these scenarios in my mind and considering all the implications of everything we have done and not done. It's all interesting, but I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? But video games aren't weird.
Well, they
and
can
I've been
be.
playing. Actually, I don't know why I said that. They are absolutely fucking weird. Mass Effect 2 isn't that weird though. Actually, is it weird?
Yes, it is.
I fucked a blue person.
I was just going to say. You are Captain Kirk. You fucked a blue person.
I mean, I'm not Captain Kirk. I'm Commander Shepard. Thank you very much.
Yeah, how dare you?
That's really fucking insulting.
Check your privilege, all right?
Yeah, big time. I'm still prepping for the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 is still really fucking good. I like talking to everyone, and I like trying to figure out who I can and can't fuck. Like, especially now that game's got all the DLC in it, because originally you were kind of not meant to be too much of a ladies' man, and if you tried to fuck too many people, someone would kind of call you out for trying to fuck other people. But now there's people in it who were added in DLC that came out after the game came out, so the game isn't really scripted for people in the original game to know when you fucked people who added later in the game. So I kind of fucked this blue chick who I fucked in the first game, and the the Australian chick that I'm chatting up at the second game didn't know about the blue chick because kind of part of the DLC. So just still fucking.
Hold on, were you playing Mass Effect 2 or were you playing House Party?
Yeah, just the uncensored version of House Party. Just my massive. You want? Never mind. Talking about spraying things down.
My god, Jesus Christ!
That's quite a good
What a
segue.
segue! It is good.
I've been playing a Power Wash Simulator, which caught my eye when someone was streaming on Twitch the other day. Yeah.
The biggest fucking sad act simulator I've ever heard in my life.
No, because you know what? The reason we all play simulator games, everything from Euro Truck Simulator to House Flipper, the reason we all go to it is for that catharsis, because it feels like something that's going to be relaxing and you're going to be able to take your mind off all the stresses and worries you have in the real life and just focus on something mundane and repetitive that you would never do in real life. But
see, that's what's bullshit. Is I've power washed my car multiple times, so I don't really want to do that. I want to go and do it for real and then come home and play it. Maybe
because then you've got a clean car, right?
At least I've got a clean car afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I've got a clean mind and a clean conscience because Power Wash Simulator cleanses my heart and cleanses my mind and cleanses my soul. And it's in early access, so it's a little bit light for anyone that's actually considering putting money into it. But it's one of those, and if power washing things sounds like something that you'd find weirdly satisfying and comforting when you're taking a break from work, then it's there for you.
Nice.
That's all I'll say.
Wow. Well, talking about weirdly satisfying, Jonesy, I think you got a game that could be construed as weirdly satisfying. It's something that I believe I gave the two of you as a bit of homework. Jamie hasn't spoken about it, so clearly he's failed the assignment.
I've got it installed. The desktop icon, I've got it, I promise.
Doesn't count. All right, go on, Jonesy.
I never played Psychonauts originally, and you said, "Oh, I think you should both play it because it's free on Game Pass." So I thought, why not? I didn't have a lot of time to play games this week, but I thought I'll dip into a little bit of Psychonauts. It's one of those where I've always heard about it and people talk about it and like really like it, but I've never like paid any attention to it. I didn't really even know what to expect, to be honest.
Which is the best way to go into a game like this, I think.
Yeah, and I was
watching out. Jonesy's going to
surprised.
say, okay. I was going to say, watching out. Jonesy says he fucking hates it.
No, I was pleasantly surprised. It's very dated. Like it looks.
Well, it was a Xbox 360 game, right? Like that era.
OG Xbox.
OG
So
Xbox, even.
right?
So
it does look its age, but not in any sense like that. It's not playable or anything. It's perfectly serviceable, and I'm not massively into it. I think I'm like maybe an hour into it. Man, no, Jesus, probably not even that. Probably like half an hour into it.
So you're still in the camp?
I'm still in the camp. So I'm running around collecting stuff. I've done some like training stuff where the dudes, the mind dude is like, get in there and get in my mind and train and whatever. But the humors, I like the humor. I like kind of the wackiness of it. There's a horrendously ugly kid who is a massive douche, which is fine and fun.
We all know him.
So it's good. I'm enjoying it so far. So we'll see how we get on. But there's so much gaming stuff going on at the moment that I don't know if I'm going to have time to play. I'm going to spend too much time watching. So there you go.
It is true. E3 kicked off with Summer Game Fest. But before we talk into that, I'm going to tell you what I've been playing because I am contractually obliged to talk about Chivalry 2, bitches. Because I got a key. I got a code. So
this is. I've got to be honest. The first Chivalry and also to a certain extent Mordhau were two things that I could never really get into for some reason. It wasn't impenetrable is not the right word, but I just wasn't grabbed by it. But I saw a Chivalry 2 trailer today. They showed one at the Summer Game Fest, and I was like, a game with that much screaming can't not be fun, right?
Oh, let me tell you, fellas. So, I played it today, actually. Played it for about 2 hours, just pure online.
Nice.
And it's so much fun, man. It is so much fun. It tries to do less than what Mordhau tried to do, I think. Mordhau tried to just add all of these kind of fucking complex elements and build and build and build. This one is maybe a little bit more stripped back, but it's still fucking cool. You've got all these different maps. I actually think it might be a 128 player map. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but big maps, effectively. And you go in, you've got your class. You can be an archer or, a knight or a footman or whatever, a vanguard, whatever it is.
I've
And
heard Josie's a footman, anecdotally.
He is a footman, yeah. You're more of an ass man.
I'm definitely not a footman. I don't get that.
Mate, you got monkey shoes. You're a footman, all right? Either which way you look at
My own feet.
Yeah.
Are you into feet? Yeah, my own.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine someone
Gross.
trying to wank off with their own feet.
Yeah, it's easy because you just point it down, right?
Wait, point what? What do you mean?
I think Jamie means with your feet. Like,
Oh,
do
Not
it.
on. Yeah, not on. I said with.
Oh, but you could do it on.
Yeah, you could
What's
do it
that?
on,
What's that?
But then,
Why would you do that?
Pointing down also doesn't sound comfortable.
Sounds painful. But anyway, fellas, we're talking about Chivalry 2, okay?
Yeah.
There's so
Sorry.
much foot wanking in Chivalry.
No, but it's really cool. It's like when you're really getting into the flow of it. So they've got these kind of like maps that are like really short battles where you just have to wipe everyone out, and then they've got other maps where it's like objectives, like breach the walls of the castle, breach the keep, and kill the king. That kind of a thing, right? Like, and it goes through it, and it can those kind of segments are timed, and it can kind of like ebb and flow where one team can breach the walls and the other team can push them back, and it's kind of dynamic like that. But what's really like amazing about it is when you really get into the flow of these longer maps, every time you respawn and it's very easy to die. Obviously, it's like fucking one wrong placed sword and your head gets fucking chopped off, and you'll respawn and you'll run back into the battlefield. When you respawn in and you're respawning with a bunch of people, because it is so easy to die, like you're just constantly respawning. They do have respawn timers, but you get what I'm saying. And you're rushing back into battle, and on mouse and keyboard, if you press the C button, you do a war cry, and it's just like you go, "Rah!" But everyone's doing it, and it doesn't give you any boost or benefit or anything, but you're just like, this is fucking amazing. And then you get into the battle.
But it gives you a boost.
Yeah, no, really. And then you get into the battle, and you're parrying, and you're riposting, and you're fucking running back and healing yourself with bandages, and people are screaming all over the place, and someone goes, you've cut off my arm, and it's so. Yeah. Okay, here's a weird one. In the all chat after one of these long matches, everyone was like GG and talking about like a little bit of their, in the all chat, what they were doing there, and I just wrote thrilling, but not like sarcastically. Like I was like, I didn't,
thrilling.
I literally didn't know what to say about it except for fuck, that was thrilling. That was thrilling.
Wow.
When was the
Put that
last
in
time
the
you
box.
played when was the last time you played a multiplayer game where you thought, fucking hell, that was thrilling?
I haven't played Chivalry 2, and I played Mordhau once, and I played For Honor like for a few hours. But there's a weird thing with this sort of game, and I suppose I worry this with the same with Chivalry 2, in that the elements that I want from a melee knights armor blah 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 game are not served in the multiplayer online game like this. So for example, Jamie recently sent me a link because he was like, "Oh, you said before like that you really want to play Rise Son of Rome originally when it came out and you never got to it." And I actually bought it for like £2 and I played it for like a couple of hours a few weeks ago. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to play more of this." I loved it because the way that you play that, you get to feel like a badass Roman soldier, right? You get to do chain moves and you get to chop people up and you get to do all the crazy sort of like quick time events, and it's cool. The thing that I always find impenetrable about games, I assume games like Chivalry 2, is that I don't feel any of that. I run into, like you said, you spawn multiple times because you keep dying. All I found with Mordhau is you run in, you just die almost straight away. Even if you do manage to get to an enemy and there's like a naked man running around with a stick who's like impossible to hit, or a massive heavy bloke with a giant spear that's like really slow and you kind of dodge out the way and you manage to poke him with your sword and like 5 people kill him. No, it doesn't feel cool. Like I never get a sense of, oh, this is a cool game that makes me feel like a badass. Is Chivalry 2 any better at that than those games, or is it more of a?
It's still early.
I suppose
it's still early days for me because obviously you keep playing, you leveled up, and you unlock new weapons. So and that changes up your strategy, and you can kind of upgrade your class.
Right.
So, for instance, if you're the knight, one of your special weapons is you blow a war horn, which gives everyone in the radius around you additional regen and a heal. And then your next one up is you drop a banner, and that banner stays there and does a heal. Blah blah blah. But so there is a progression tied to it. But what I'm saying is, like, I still have more to go. But from what I'm experiencing right now, it is kind of like Carnage, but it is what I would imagine that Battlefield to be. But there are opportunities to feel like a badass. So you might be in the field and notice that an archer is taking down a lot of people. Maybe because you've been killed by that archer. So you get back onto the battlefield and you run
Just
around
like
to where
real
he
life.
is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you run around to where his known location, because players are idiots and they don't really move around that much. And you fucking chop his legs off. And you're like, that feels fucking good. And then you go into the fray, and there's some like heavy armored knights that are like one knight going against like 3 of your vanguards, and the knight could take him. So what you try and do is you try and go around him, and you use your special. You got your fucking war axe, and you do a special like overhead donk onto his fucking helmet. He goes down, and then all 3 of those dudes just fucking lunge their swords in him. It's like, this is fucking cool. This is fucking cool.
Yeah.
There are other times where you're running and someone throws an oil bomb at you, and then you're not sure where it came from, and then someone chops your arm off. It's like, well, okay.
Right.
It's ups and downs.
I was gonna say it. Like, surely the answer to Jonesy's question in any multiplayer game ever is that it's skill based. It's skill dependent. Like, it's like asking, can I feel like a badass in Quake? Can I feel like a badass in Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Can I feel like a badass in FIFA? The answer is, are you better than the person you're against? Right?
No, but that's I would say I wouldn't agree in a game like this, because of course if you played it as like a military unit, there's no battles and stuff where one person just goes running around like a nutter chopping people with a sword and trying to chop people's feet off, because you'd have like 100 men or 20 men or whatever all standing together and doing the using tactics and stuff. But these games never that never happens. People immediately from my experience, which is limited, people immediately respawn and just run into the battle and just start flailing. Like, rarely have I been there and seen one person who seems to have skill, like you're saying.
You're saying then that your ability to feel like a badass sounds like it's reliant on your teammates adhering to what you want them to do, which wouldn't be you necessarily being a badass.
I think the answer probably lies in between what both of you are saying. In a game like Chivalry, it's less about the singular hero and more about the team and the squad, however you want to call it. Because you could have 4 people surrounding one dude, but if that guy gets a block off and manages to block all 4 of the people trying to attack him at the same time, then he could just fucking slice their legs off. Right?
Yeah.
And he can feel like a badass. He might be the fucking good player. But at the same time, you could have a fucking amazing player who's not focusing on his flank, and he could be taken out by a Jonesy.
I feel like we're having another what was the thing from Batman?
Belfry.
Belfry. I feel like I'm having a Belfry moment right now where I'm like doing double takes. We're describing multiplayer. We're describing.
I suppose.
No, but
for me,
it's a bit
like,
it's different with like
I don't know,
guns and melee. Like
I suppose if you play Warzone, right, and you play with a team of good people, I think that when you have the best plays, it's when you feel like you're playing like a military unit where you're covering each other and you take out other teams and you do quite well. It's probably just I haven't played enough, which is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Is whenever I've seen these games, they just look like absolute carnage. I don't think I've really seen many times when people seem to work together, and it just looks like I remember the last time I played Mordhau, and it was like a team of knights or a group of like knights or whatever and archers trying to kill a naked man with like an axe who was just jumping over their heads and chopping people, and it looked funny. Like, I was laughing, and I had a bow and I was trying to shoot him, and I kept missing, but I was laughing because the naked man was killing all the knights, and then he killed like 8 people, and then, which is I guess is your point about skill, he killed about 8, but his skill
felt like a badass.
His skill was jumping up and down on top of a carriage thing, just wearing a loincloth. I think he was bald and almost naked.
His skill was also killing people.
Yes.
I mean, but when you looked at it, it didn't look like Gladiator. It looked like a naked bald man
Yeah.
jumping,
I would say
jumping
there's
and
a lot,
ducking and
a
jumping
lot
and ducking.
less of the weirdness of Mordhau in Chivalry 2. Chivalry 2,
Right.
Other than like some really funny voice lines, it kind of takes itself more like, no, it's a fucking medieval simulator.
Like, I
Right.
think For Honor tried to get that. I think they tried to make you feel like that, which is why you had the mobs, why you had like the air, defend the areas, why you had the
Yeah,
stances. And I love that. I love that they tried it, and you had some cool moments, and you with the stances you could defend and you could block, and it looked better. But it wasn't a very enjoyable game. Maybe because it was trying to do what I'm suggesting and trying to make you have more of those legit moments, but in execution, it's actually like insanely difficult. So you end up with a greased up, bald, naked man all running around donking you with a stick.
Jonesy, probably by the time that this goes up, it'll be done. But I am planning to stream some Chivalry tomorrow.
I'd love to watch that. I'll be all over that.
Yeah, it will be available on a VOD at twitch.tv/Hotpanic. But yeah, it should be good. You know what else should have been good? And I guess in some ways it was Geoff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, which was the unofficial, adjacent, official kickoff to E3.
It feels kind of like the launch of E3, I think.
Yeah, I think he's positioned it well, where that whether it's a part of E3 or not in the eyes of the ESA, it's timed to feel like the start of E3.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, Chris, I had a good time upon reflection with Geoff.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had a good time with Geoff.
Okay.
On this fine Thursday afternoon.
All right. Well, let's go into it, all right? And some of them we can skip over, just like a few words, but some of them need some deep delving, okay? Because it all kicked off with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And no, that's not a video or search term that you type into Pornhub or anything. It is a fantasy-inspired Borderlands spin-off, unfortunately arriving in 2022. But here's the interesting thing, fellas, okay? It features the voice talent of Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes, Will Arnett, some pretty good, big comedic names.
Yes.
And of course, Borderlands. Oh, was it pre-sequel or was it Borderlands 2 that had the Tiny Tina's DLC?
I think it was 2.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so on that one, basically all the characters went over to Tiny Tina's and they played a game of Dungeons and Dragons, but then she'd come up with the world, but then you'd go into the world and you'd play it in first-person perspective. It was pretty cool. There were dragons and shit. And I guess the idea is that it's this, but as a standalone spin-off that's maybe more than just a DLC and given a lot more love. I mean, when you're paying people like Andy Samberg and fucking Will Arnett, then it's got to be pretty good.
I hope so. I hope that means it's funny as well, which is, I think, the element of Borderlands that's got increasingly more hit and miss over the years, with the exception perhaps of Tales from the Borderlands, which people seem to like. I do have one sort of niggling thing that's on my mind, though, that I just can't... Like, I know they didn't show the gameplay, but you can kind of imagine fantasy-inspired Borderlands take, maybe some magical or even medieval, ironic talking about chivalry elements thrown in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I'm supposed to get a gauge on this game when I don't know if I'm going to feel like a badass or not. Like,
you fuck.
Mate, you won't. It's got witches and stuff in it. You won't feel
It's
like
got dragons. Dragons are pretty badass, actually.
Dragons are
Whether
cool.
you're riding them or killing them or fucking them, like dragons are lit.
Wow. Okay.
That's a Shrek thing. That's not like that out of the ordinary.
I mean,
In
the
Shrek,
donkey,
think
the
about
donkey
it.
did bang the dragon.
Yeah,
Donkey,
in
right.
one of the most popular animated films of all time, a donkey has sex with a dragon. Think about it.
Think about it.
No, seriously. Imagine a donkey's penis. Like
You really want everyone to actually visualize the
It's
act.
one of those things where
Jamie, even
you've
better.
taken it for granted.
Even better. Imagine a dragon's vag.
It's
Now
impressive.
Now
I'll give you
imagine Michael Douglas's tongue.
That's doing
Jesus
nothing to a dragon.
Wow. Oh my god.
You have
I
to
don't know.
imagine that Donkey like literally got inside, like went inside himself and walked in.
Like explored
Otherwise-
the cave, yeah?
Yeah, otherwise it's not doing anything.
Gross. Oh, dear me. That's one for the video watchers. Sorry,
Well, there you
audio
go.
listeners. You have to guess what gesture Chris just did there.
Gross. But yeah, from there we swiftly moved on to Metal Slug Tactics, which is
A quality franchise, at least. Metal Slug is great.
I used to fucking the amount of money I'd sink in the arcade on the fucking Metal Slug.
Hell yeah.
They're ridiculous. I do love me some Metal Slug. But this is not Metal Slug as you knew it, knew it, whatever. Because it's got tactics on the end, fellas. And much like Final Fantasy Tactics, it's like a grid-based, I guess you could say XCOM take, Into the Breach inspired take on a classic franchise. I thought it looked pretty cool. I thought I think the key here is going to be pricing and availability. And is it on Games Pass? but yeah, it does look decent. And I think even though it's a change from the side-scrolling shoot 'em up, I don't see how Metal Slug fans could be upset about this. I think they should be excited by what they're seeing.
Josie's thinking about that statement.
Well,
Maybe.
Just because as a Metal Slug fan, like it's like I liked that game or games. I enjoyed them at the arcade, but I don't really think like a reskin of a tactics game with Metal Slug-esque stuff is going to make me want to go and get it. Like I always think these sorts of things, like the idea of licensing a product or licensing an IP just to reskin a different sort of game and go, now you want to play a tactics game because we've skinned it with something you like, is like, it's more likely that someone who likes tactics games is going to want to play this. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily going to appeal to the side-scrolling.
Look what happened to.
I could be wrong.
Look what happened to Gears of War. Do they also call it Gears of War Tactics?
Tactics, yeah. I think
Gears Tactics, yeah.
Gears Tactics.
Which
it's definitely a thing we're going to be experiencing for years to come.
I mean, I think there's still one more to be announced this E3, right? From what we have led to
the
believe,
Marvel one.
Right, exactly.
Should be interesting.
As I can say, as someone who is neither a fan of Metal Slug nor particularly a fan of tactics games, that if you don't like either of those elements, the chances of you playing this game are slim. So
unless it's on Games Pass.
There you go. There's the magic. Magic Game Pass brings to the table.
The magic bullet.
That's the weird thing we've talked about before, though, isn't it? Is that if everything's free and available, it doesn't. You might play it for like 10 minutes, but you're probably not going to stick with it for any length of time.
Or you could find your new favorite thing for a month, a week,
maybe
whatever
that's true.
Maybe
True, possibly.
We really liked Sea of Thieves for about 48 hours. So
yeah, exactly. Like I really liked it.
Yeah, we'd literally just gone into lockdown, and for about 3 days, Sea of Thieves was all we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Then we realised there was nothing to do.
Yeah. And then we moved on to Minecraft Dungeons and played that for about an evening.
We did Minecraft Dungeons.
But that's how long it takes to finish, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember
We did
what's
Deep
the one?
Rock, Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock. I did Astro Near with. There were a few that Steph and I we went rogue. And
you did Battletoads and Streets of Rage,
State of Decay as well.
State of Decay.
It was just the Game Pass season, early lockdown COVID-19 Game Pass season.
Hey, well, you know what's cool about Games Pass is Xbox are going to bring it to. It's official. We speculated it, but they're going to put Xbox in your TV, smart TV, obviously. But there should be an app. Right? Where it's like, hey, it's the Xbox app on your fucking Samsung TV. And you connect your controller either through USB or Bluetooth, depending on the television. And boom, you playing Xbox games.
Honestly, Chris, I'm stunned. I'm stunned that Jonesy isn't rubbing my face in these headlines.
Mate, when the world does it for me, I don't need to.
Well, the interesting thing, and maybe it's the thing that's keeping Jonesy a little bit tight-lipped at the moment, is weirdly enough, Phil Spencer's come out saying that they are, Xbox is not looking to exit the hardware game. They said, if anything, they are accelerating their efforts.
But then, I think it comes down to, like, at the end of the day, no one knows what's going to happen. No one knows how the industry is going to unfold, and it's all well and good saying now they are going to stick with hardware. They're going to like double their efforts, whatever. I don't think anyone really knows. Like we've been saying for years, I've been saying for years, cloud gaming is going to be the next. It's going to Netflix of gaming. Da 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 da. But I think it's all up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, but look what happened fucking yesterday. Half of the internet went down. Right? There was no Twitter, there was no Amazon, there was no Twitch. Yeah.
Oh, right, I see.
Oh, okay.
For a few hours. It's like, okay, so, oh shit, my gaming streaming service is down. I guess I'm not going to play any games then, fuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still the... Sorry, Jamie.
No. I think actually the point I make might be rebutted in the exact same point that you were about to make. But I was also just going to say anecdotally, Xbox obviously only seeing a percentage of this themselves, but certainly when you look at PlayStation 5s and graphics cards, now is a good time to be selling hardware because it's going as soon as you can make it.
Yeah, mental.
See, I'd almost go the other way though and say now's a good time for services that don't require hardware, given that a lot of people can't get hold of it. But no, what I was going to say was it doesn't matter if you've got the hardware. If the internet goes down, you can't play games anyway. There's been
depending on
nowadays. Depending on the game, but nowadays, you struggle to play most of your titles that you've picked up.
I was tuning into twitch.tv/Hot Panic the other day, and Chris got kicked out of Dark Souls because of a server issue.
There you go.
Yeah, that was weird.
Madness.
Yeah. Dark Souls.
Why do you need
Dark Souls?
You need all those notes on the floor and stuff to. If you haven't got them, you can't play.
Sorry, you have to reload the bloodstains.
Yeah. Kick me out of the fucking game. Just remove the fucking messages. Don't kick me out of the fucking game.
In fact, do you know what, Chris? You're right. Cancel From Software, cancel Miyazaki, anything they've got in the pipeline, get rid of it. These guys are the scum of the earth, and I don't want to talk about them again for the rest of the podcast, if that's okay with you.
Wow. Okay.
The worst one of those experiences for me, because it just made no sense, was Just Cause 3, I think it was. You can't play that if you're not connected to the internet. And the internet went down when I was playing it once, and it didn't. It worked for a bit and then just freaked out, didn't save my game, kicked me out of the game, and just went mental. And I was like, why? It's not even an online game. Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Square Enix got really bad for that, because I remember Hitman was pretty rough as well for a little while. Similar
EA and Maxis, when they did SimCity.
Off.
Do you remember? And it was like, no,
killed that franchise.
Yeah, it's always online. And then people found out, like, no, you can play it. It doesn't have to be online. And this was after they came out saying, like, oh no, the way we built the game, it has to be online because, checks and balances, whatever the fucking bullshit. Yep. And then someone hacked it. It was like, no, it runs perfectly fine if you're not online. So
I did the exact same thing with World of Warcraft. It doesn't have to be online. I hacked it, played it offline, peace and quiet. It is the ideal way to play that game.
I like it. Okay, wow. Weirdo. All right, moving on from one weirdo to another fucking weirdo. Kojima. He's a genius, but he's a weirdo. I don't think anyone's going to fucking argue with that one, especially if they saw the really strange and odd Metal Gear Solid inspired trailer for Death Stranding Directors Cut.
I want to know what Jamie thinks this, but can I set him up? Maybe I'm not going to try and annoy him, but I might.
Okay, do it.
Because this made me a little bit sad.
Okay.
Because in some sense, it was like, I had this weird feeling of Kojima Productions, Death Stranding haven't maybe quite lived up to what he was hoping. And so this is almost like going, look, I'm the Metal Gear Solid guy. Do you remember? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Let's have a whole little like a little weird trailer thing where I'm going, I could almost make Death Stranding into Metal Gear Solid if you want. Is that what you want? Do you want me to do that? Will that make you happy?
Jonesy, do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of every time Eminem releases an album. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Eminem. But every time Eminem releases an album, he shoehorns the lyric going in, I wrote Stan. It's like, yeah? That was like 10 albums ago, dude. Like, fucking get over it.
It's good. Go on, Jamie.
But yeah, I'll tell you what, for the people that haven't seen the trailer, why don't you just kind of like explain why it was so odd and weird?
Well, I guess it's odd because it's hard to tell exactly what they're trying to say. Like, so basically you see Norman Reedus in his full-on Death Stranding garb, and he's in some kind of a warehouse that looks very much like some of the early stages of Metal Gear Solid and stuff, Outer Heaven and all that stuff. Guards stationed around, look like it's ready for some kind of a stealth.
Yeah, there was some top-down perspective as well in the trailer.
He spots a cardboard box, which has got the fragile kind of logo all over it, which suggests we're still in universe in Death Stranding. He knocks some oranges out of it, like tips some oranges out of it, and then gets inside the cardboard box where it's like, it's open at the top, so you just see him squatted inside.
Well, no, hold
the
on.
box.
You've missed out a bit because he pulls it off the shelf, puts it open side down on the floor, Metal Gear Solid style, and waits for about 5 seconds because you're
The whole
obviously
thing.
thinking he's gonna and then he flips it over and it's like
and he gets in and cradles him, like hugs his knees like a baby.
It
Fetal
was
position.
all very stilted, and like obviously Jonesy's right. It is clearly Kojima having a bit of a "I'm also the Metal Gear guy," moment. I don't think it's quite as pitiful as you made it out to be. Like I hope it's not like a.
That was
Stan,
for your benefit to some degree.
I
Yeah,
wrote
it's
Stan,
Stan.
so
It's more of a flex than like anything else. The thing I can't wrap my head around is that, okay, it makes sense to go back to Death Stranding and act out some of the things that have been rumoured, to be fair, which, like, maybe there was cut content, cut scenes, cut this, that, or the other, which I'm not sure
I don't
Death
see
Stranding
how.
needs.
There's like fucking...
No, exactly.
Jesus.
Like, Chris, you and I were joking before this, like, if this thing is Death Stranding Directors Cut, whose cut was the first one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that was going to be my question because usually it's like the producer or the execs say to the director, "Oh no, we can't do that. Oh no, you can't do that. Oh, we're going to change it. We're going to do this." Kojima Productions made Death Stranding. He's Kojima. This is him saying, "This is my cut." You're like,
yes.
So, okay, dude.
No, see,
what?
this is the thing. This is the thing you don't realize. Kojima actually has two personalities: producer Kojima and director Kojima. And producer Kojima told director Kojima to cut stuff out of the game. So this is he was.
Yeah,
he
you don't
was
understand.
basically-
It's the stick and the rope.
It's a Strand game.
Yeah.
It's a Strand game.
If there was one thing I had to ask you about Death Stranding, would it be that there wasn't enough and you needed more?
No,
You should have put more back.
especially
in that game.
especially not because with the way this guy works, I doubt it's gameplay variety that's being added back in. It's going to be nonsense cutscenes, and it's going to be lore, and it's going to be exposition. I think the thing that I'm curious about though is that does that trailer what does that mean? Does that mean there's going to be some new area? Is that just Norman Reedus in some like VR mission style thing where he can challenge himself to a stealth mission to prepare for his real mission by doing these Metal Gear Solid inspired, stealth rooms? I don't fucking know. But it's cool that something's happening, and you know what will be fun to see? What Hideo Kojima can do with a DualSense controller. That's what that'll be fun if nothing else. Right?
Okay,
Think about like pissing with one of those triggers.
Nice. I like it. Feel your bladder empty through the controller. Right?
Totally.
But I guess it goes back to what we were saying on Battlefield, right? If Battlefield had the common sense to say, we don't need to do a single player campaign. Let's just focus on the multiplayer campaign instead of, shifting our resources. Like, why is Kojima doing this? Okay, fine. Not why is he doing it? Because it's a fucking... If you want to be cynical about it, it's an easier cash grab at the moment, right? Take an existing property, sprinkle on some sauce, and fucking there you go. But just fucking draw a line in the sand, say, that was Death Stranding, and move on to the next thing, whether it's Death Stranding 2 or a brand new thing. Like, why this stopgap? I don't get it.
You have to wonder though, right? With games like this, with Death Stranding, and people like Hideo Kojima and of his sort of caliber, his size, his notoriety, I wonder if when a game goes into production, they're like, right, this is 10 years down. Like now, this game is going to be the thing for 10 years. It comes out, it gets the reception it's got. It's from my estimations, a very good. Like I really like it. I think it's a very good game, but it didn't maybe do what they were thinking it was going to do. It wasn't quite the.
I think it exceeded their targets.
But I think insofar as part of as grabbing part of the gaming psyche and culture, I think he was maybe I'm wrong, but I imagined it was like they were going to go, wow, this is absolutely incredible.
For example, Jones, is maybe another way of putting it. Like there's a version of events where Death Stranding is such a momentous thing that Sony have no choice but to buy Kojima Productions outright and make them first party. But once that game did come out, there was no one expected that to happen.
Yeah,
is that kind of what you mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The whole could have been a whole stream of things that could have come off the back of it, and he's kind of thinking Death Stranding is my next 10 to 15 years. And then because that doesn't kind of happen, they're then like you're saying, Chris, draw a line, move on. But maybe that's just not what they were thinking. It's not in the plan. They've got no idea what they would move on to because they were not planning on being in this position. But maybe they should. Maybe they should draw a line under it and move on rather than these kind of, oh, we're going to put some cyberpunk stuff into Death Stranding. Oh, we're going to do a crossover with this. Oh, we're going to put some stuff. It's like, okay, you keep talking about this game. Maybe move on.
But,
and they're like,
but you know who else did that, Jonesy? Do you know what other auteur did that?
Go on.
George Lucas. And he ruined Star Wars. Who shot first? Han or Greedo? Okay, the point is, it's just revisionist, and I don't like it. Move on.
So, but you're saying like, who pissed first is going to be the big argument of Death Stranding, like, and it's like, you don't remember the original PS4 release of Death Stranding, which you can't find anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was definitely Norman Reedus.
And Death Stranding Directors Cut, he drinks Red Bull because Red Bull gave him a bunch of money. Yeah.
I think the other thing about Kojima Productions that I think is easy to forget is that like Kojima is, I'm sure he does fine, but he's not some billionaire dude that bankrolls his own games. Like Kojima Productions as an entity need to partner up with people and get in bed with other companies to develop and fund and publish those games. There are rumors that we touched on in the podcast a few weeks ago that he is talking to Xbox, for example. Yeah. And I'm sure Phil Spencer would love to get in bed with Mr. Kojima. But like, and I'm sure Hideo is full of ideas and has done little bits here and there, but Kojima like doesn't get out of bed one morning and is like, right, we're going to go into production on this tomorrow, because like, with whose money, for what platforms, who's publishing it? I think those things, especially given the 18 months we've had, those things probably get a little bit harder to figure out. Probably a very weird time to be in pre-production on anything, right?
So then
it's indefinite. It must feel.
So then, is this even more cynical in saying, while he's still trying to find funding for that next project, that he's like, well, we need something to kind of, link A to B.
I don't know because the other, we just don't know. Like, is this something Kojima really wanted to do? Is there something... Sony are involved in this. We got a Sony and a PlayStation Studios logo ahead of this thing. Did Sony go back to him and were like, hey, we kind of want some PS5 games. How about a little bit extra money and you squeeze this out of that? Like, we just don't know.
That's possible because the trailer was running on a PS5. So you actually, I didn't think of it, but you got to make a really interesting point about Sony saying, here's some more money. We need a PS5 version. And what is Kojima's PS5 version? The Director's Cut.
Today could have been the announcement of Death Stranding on the Xbox, but no, it's still exclusive. Well, it's on PC as well, but there's no information that suggests Director's Cut's coming to PC and so on and so forth. Like, it's just hard to know. But I will say this, I'm 80% confident that by the end of this calendar year, we will... Actually, no. I'm going to say in 12 months' time, so a year from now, we will know what Kojima's next game is, and he will be in full production on something with someone, probably Xbox. Yeah. At least one thing, if not more.
That's fair.
And the thing is that still that thing, and whoever it's with, will still get all of us really excited, and we'll all be like, "Oh, amazing! Can't wait!" And it's not like his name doesn't just print money, because it still does. But this did feel a little odd, but I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, although we're all interested to see what the heck it was about and what actually comes out.
That's what he brings to the table. If nothing else, is curiosity, right? Like, you have to look. True. It's like an eclipse. It might blind you, but you have to look.
You know what else you have to look at?
I can think of a couple of things.
Well, hey. In this instance, Jamie, the beautiful specimen on God's green earth, which is Jeff Goldblum. Because he helped announce Jurassic World Evolution 2 from Frontier Developments. Which,
I love and hate.
Funnily enough, I applied for a job for them at the end of last year. Didn't get it. Still doing SuperShow.
Hey, you know what?
Just saying.
Their loss is our gain.
I have a little love-hate thing with this, because Evolution was really good. I enjoyed it. I played that game quite a lot. Evolution 2, I'm looking forward to that as well. But every time I see, like, a Jeff Goldblum, a Sam Neill, whoever it's going to be, and they talk, and it's Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whatever. A little part of me like sort of really hopes for a first person, like Far Cry 3 style Jurassic Park game where it's like you're going to the park and like a proper triple. And I was like, no, it's just going to be a
Dino Crisis.
Yeah. But hey, you get to control the little people in Evolution, so there you go.
You know what I love about the whole Jeff Goldblum thing, though, is he has no fucking clue. He just gets given a script and he's like, I was in Jurassic World? What? Okay. Yeah,
His
I'll
delivery
read.
was so odd.
He's like, I'll read this. He's an odd dude, but I fucking love him.
He said, I'll read,
icon.
I've got an auto cue in front of me or a teleprompter to read. Didn't he?
Yeah. That's him. That's like, it's like fucking explaining to your granddad what a fucking Xbox controller is. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it must be very liberating to get to that stage in life, to be married, to have a family, to be rich, to still be relatively in demand and a part of massive major franchises, and then to realize that actually, if you just let all your inhibitions go and act like your true kooky self, people like you even more.
Yeah,
that's just going to be the most like liberating and like validating thing imaginable as a human being.
Yeah, every time I see a picture of Jeff Goldblum, he's having the time of his life.
I know this probably makes no sense, but I feel like, whilst he has been in lots of films, I feel like Jeff Goldblum, the actor, hasn't been in a film since The Fly. Like, because whenever he's in a film, he's just Jeff Goldblum. It's like he wandered onto set and they let him be in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't need to act. He just gets there and just goes, oh, and just does whatever the fuck he wants.
Right, guys. Then look, we got treated to a look at Lost Ark, a Korean MMO arriving in the West this year, thanks to Amazon. And then swiftly after that, Ryan Reynolds made an Elden Ring joke while they're debuting a new trailer for Free Guy. Because you know what? Fuck Lost Ark.
I mean, pretty much.
I'm not going to play that.
Also, Jonesy, come here is Free Guy does not look funny.
Yes, it does. Get out of it. It's Ryan Reynolds.
I really want to like it, but those jokes didn't land to me. And you saying Ryan Reynolds like doesn't mean anything to me. Every time there's a new Ryan Reynolds movie on this podcast, whether it's like Detective Pikachu or fucking Deadpool, whatever, I always say the same thing and I stand by it, which is that that's a guy who does the same voice and the same type of jokes every character he's ever been, and it stopped being funny for me a long time ago. Yeah. I'm trying not to be cynical. I still have a soft spot for the Deadpool movies because they've got an edge to them and there are some laughs. But I wanted to like this trailer and I didn't get a laugh out of it. That's just me being honest.
Yeah. The problem you've got, Jamie, is that you are right. But I love Ryan Reynolds, and so I'm fine with that. Like
best.
every time he brings out a film and he's exactly the same, he delivers exactly the same way. His intonation, his delivery, everything is exactly the same. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take more. I can
respect that. I can respect it totally.
So one of the best, I think, the best Ryan Reynolds film as an actor I've ever seen him do was probably Amityville Horror, because he actually acts in it. It's the only film I think I've ever seen where he doesn't seem like he's just being Ryan Reynolds. But I'm sold on the whole.
Let's not be too quick here. We've also got X-Men Origins Wolverine before Deadpool became comic relief. He took that pretty damn seriously. Jeez. You remember that one scene with Will.i.am in it?
Yeah.
Those two were electric. Talk about an on-screen duo.
What about, what was it? Blade Trinity.
Blade Trinity. Triple H is in that movie and he talks about getting arse raped. That gets a thumbs up from me.
He's like, the films he's been in are probably terrible. Like, if you put them all together.
Listen, Alex Jones, take that back, because The Proposal is a quality movie.
Is that the one where
Sandra Bullock?
Sandra Bullock,
yeah. Canadian. Go for it.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. That, like, if you had to put his stable of films in front of you and like look at it, that is a bad like DVD collection. It doesn't look great.
I'm looking now, and there are some absolutely atrocious movies here.
But
like,
that
some
having
really
been said,
atrocious movies.
there's a fly on my microphone. That having been said, I love Ryan Reynolds. I will literally watch anything with him in. I'm just into it.
Okay, I've seen a Ryan Reynolds performance in a movie that I unironically like. And he's not actually the he's the drama in an otherwise fairly comedic film. Yeah.
Is it Burning Aces? Is that what it's called?
No, you're thinking of Smoking Aces, which is actually kind of a banger, low key.
Smoking Aces is fucking quality, yeah.
And he's quite dramatic in that. He's not like doing it for laughs, if I remember rightly.
He's
And
like
it's
the
a wacky
CIA
film.
dude or the FBI dude or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I was thinking of was, do you remember Adventureland with Jesse Eisenberg when
Was he?
works at the theme park?
Yeah, it's a great
And
film.
I mean, spoiler alert, but Ryan Reynolds is Kristen Stewart's secret older boyfriend.
Oh, yes.
Fuck yeah.
That's a good movie. If you don't like Kristen Stewart, go and watch, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people think she's like Twilight Girl. Watch that movie and tell me you don't like her anymore. That made me like fall in love with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like you can have fucking hell, man. You could watch someone back then and like them, but you can't say like, oh, I still like them because they've become shit. I watched over Christmas. There was on Sky TV. There was a lesbian Christmas movie with Kristen Stewart in it. It was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Was it
She's
called
the problem you
Post
had there was-
Season?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Okay, and it was terrible. Now I agree with you. She has her merits and she's had some decent films, but you can't do that. It's like
She's the only good thing in that rubbish.
it's like
Charlie's
Robert De
Angels
Niro doing Bad Grandpa. Like, you know, it's like
Yeah.
fucking, you're a far way away from fucking Raging Bull and Goodfellas and Casino, my friend, and Heat. You know, like, come on.
But to be fair
Come
to her, like they kind of had their heyday. It's almost like she made a few movies.
She's
then got
younger
massive
than
through-
me.
Exactly. Like, so they had their heyday and they made some bangers, and then we saw them when they were much older and they had all these bangers. She was much
you're saying
younger
like
when
De
she
Niro.
made
Okay, yeah,
Twilight, and it was almost like everyone then it was like, oh, she's the Twilight girl. The worst films ever made, where she's just like, all she does is do this.
To be fair, in some respects, she was. I'm looking. I'm cheating because I've got the filmography in front of me. But she was unlucky to be the Twilight Girl in some respects because she'd already been in Panic Room,
yeah.
and Zathura and films like that.
Yeah.
And Jumper. Do you remember Jumper?
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
Jumper was great.
Jumper was
Yeah.
all right.
But you know what? Like, you could say what you want about the Twilight films, but it made her a shit ton of cash, right? Probably to the point where she doesn't care. She doesn't care about anything anymore. She's set for life.
Yeah. And I think she's, from what I can gather from like the little bits I do follow about film industry stuff, I think she's trying to do kind of a bit of a Rob Pattinson in that she's doing interesting stuff now. She's doing indie films. She's working with,
I don't know,
like,
man. That Christmas show, that Christmas movie.
I
was
mean,
not
this
interesting.
Christmas thing I can't speak to,
Oh.
and obviously Charlie's Angels is an exception. But a lot of the other stuff, like, again, like some of the names that pop out to me, like A Personal Shopper, I remember being one. There was one where she was in the army. I'm not going to be able to find the name now. But like
How
a lot
did
of
I
kind of like,
forget to mention, and you've just reminded me,
Oh,
like,
here we go.
yeah,
Batman. The problems with the production of Batman, and apparently part of it is that Robert Pattinson is horrendous to work with. So
is that a rumor?
Apparently,
Wow.
they said
I haven't heard this.
the film. Okay, my sources might be suspect. I won't tell you where they're from because you'll just get annoyed. But apparently, there are.
Oh,
confirmed,
okay. I know
they're not
exactly
confirmed
where
rumors.
this is from.
Confirmed.
I know exactly where it's from.
They're not even confirmed rumors. They're just rumors. But the rumors are that
It's the quartering
Pattinson-
making shit up. Okay, that's what it is.
Pattinson
Is it the
her-
quartering?
It is the coring. Pattinson is apparently
yes.
Pattinson is apparently horrendous to work with. That the execs saw the film and were like, "What have you done?" and sent it back for loads of reshoots. But the problem is, apparently, if you believe the rumors, the reshoots would end up making the film the most expensive movie ever made because they needed to reshoot so much. Apparently,
Just
it
make
wouldn't
another
work
movie.
out. Pattinson wouldn't work out for the role, so he wouldn't do anything to look like Batman. Apparently, he doesn't. He looks rubbish in this. Like, the rumors are like a bit much, but epic issues if you believe some of the sources, which
Epic
did make me
issues
chuckle.
if you believe the quartering.
Do you know
well,
what?
whatever his sources are,
I've just gone to find his
Oh fuck, he's gone down the rabbit hole.
YouTube
We were
channel.
talking about Kristen
And-
Stewart here, fellas.
We can get back to it. I just want to say that the quartering has made 6 videos in the last 3 hours.
About Batman.
In the last 3...
No,
No,
I think he uploads.
about, get this,
like, all the
he's
same
made,
time
in the
as-
last 6 out of 3 hours, he's made a video about Ethan Klein, a video about
right.
Battlefield, a video about Review Tech USA, a video about Elden Ring, a video about EA's source code stuff getting leaked,
Yeah.
and a video about Scooby-Doo's Velma getting race swapped to now be Asian.
That's the problem. We don't churn the content like that.
He's
That's our
playing the
problem.
algorithm game like to a T, and that's why he can say whatever he says.
Let's
but he
not
could
don't
still
let,
kind of
this. let's not get off track here, boys, because I said that this film was going to be trash and it was going to be one of the worst, like awful. And you were like, no, what are you talking about? DC
I
fandom
still disagree with you. Yeah.
If the Batman ends up being even disappointing, and below par, Jonesy, you're the first person I'm going to come to and be like, do you know what? Fair play, you called it. You're on the record of that.
Yeah,
but like I said, my sources aren't great, so let's not. I
mean, that's a fucking understatement, but yeah.
Note it down. Yeah, but
all right. Look,
anyway.
Well, let's move on, fellas. Sable, a game, I don't know, has a release date, September 23rd. Then
the
Among
art
Us
style looked really nice.
What was Sable? I didn't see it.
Sable.
I think you'd recognise it if you saw it, just on the art style. It was interesting.
I will do it. Okay.
They had the singer.
They had Japanese breakfast, Tokyo hotel, Chinese dinner.
Chinese takeaway.
I don't know who it was. It sounded
Chinese
cool.
takeaway.
Oh, that is a nice art
They
style.
had all the Sable footage playing in the background, and it had like a cell shaded, almost like inky penned outline with a sort of sci-fi thing going. It looked cool. It looked pretty nice.
I really want inky penned to be a new adjective.
Would you call it? I couldn't think of what it's called. Would you call it with like it's an editing thing, filter thing where you have the edges get
posterized?
No,
it's not posterized, is it? It's
where
the edges of the thing get like. Yeah, maybe. Yes, yeah, it's probably that.
Rough and edges.
Maybe it's rough. I can't remember. But.
No, rough and edges.
Don't
fuck with rough and edges.
It's find edges where it tries to find the outline of the thing.
What's the Keanu Reeves film that we've mentioned before on the podcast? Scanner Darkly, where it's got the darkened edges to everything like that. But
that's
cell
shaded. Yeah.
Thing. But it looks nice.
Sable Darkly.
Cool. Sable looks cool.
There we go. Sable looks cool. Nice. Among Us is still a thing, and it's getting new modes and roles and maps and visors, and people are still playing it. So fair play. Moving on.
Comments on that about it disappearing have not aged well, because that game is not going anywhere.
Longevity, my friend. Look, it's a fun game. It does what it does very well, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad game.
No, not at all.
Just sometimes you got to move on, and move on we shall to Salt
like bread.
Yeah, like
does what it does very well. Like it's fine. Like there's nothing.
It's
wrong
bread. Just slice it, you bitch. All right.
Oh, can I give you a little tidbit that I tweeted in the week
about bread?
Among Us.
Okay,
about Among Us.
And bread.
It's bringing together Among Us and bread in a glorious synthesis. A chicken McNugget, which are breaded, in the shape of the Among Us guy, sold on eBay for $100,000.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Insane.
I think it was even more internetified than that, because wasn't it also from the BTS meal at McDonald's?
It was from the BTS meal.
Jesus Christ!
Oh dear.
God.
I keep saying, I was saying, because on one of our WhatsApp groups that we're in, the guys were talking about some very expensive cans of Dr. Pepper, and between like Pokemon cards and chicken nuggets and NFTs, how many get-rich-quick schemes are we going to miss out on this calendar year alone?
Yeah.
Like, how are we still poor?
We should have.
When a chicken nugget is worth $100,000.
We should have been on fucking ground floor on the GameStop shit, but whatever.
Yeah, we should have.
Anyway, fellas, what about, could I interest you in a sequel to Salt and Sanctuary called Salt and Sacrifice, coming out in 2022? No? Okay, how about a new look at Solar Ash?
Solar Ash, that looked like a massive rip-off of... Oh, fucking hell, what's it called?
What, Solar Ash? Of Journey?
No. What's the one where you fight the big Colossus?
Shadow of the Colossus,
where you're climbing along the big thing, stabbing it in the back. And
I mean...
As we all know, from now until the end of time, it will be illegal to fight bosses bigger than you.
Yeah.
No, it was the way that you had to like dart around the back, hit a certain point, and then dart back and hit a point, and then stab it to finish it off. There was just a weird thing that I got where it was like looked just like... Well, okay, whatever. Fair enough.
No, I didn't mean to feed. I wasn't trying to mug you off. I was just making a
mugged
joke.
Me off.
Yeah, consider yourself mugged, mate. Okay, then the Streets. No, not the band. The Streets are coming to Escape from Tarkov. What does this mean?
You weren't meant to read that.
What does this mean? Are they just adding streets to the game?
The map of Escape from Tarkov is being expanded to an area that was described as the streets of Tarkov, but it's just kind of like a more residential, building-y kind of area. A little bit more built up, less forests, more bricks.
So
this is a game that I always, every time I see it, I'm like, I want to play this. But I know I'd suck.
I think you should have played something like this instead of... Do you remember when you went and reinstalled Armour 3?
Oh, yeah. played it
I
once.
think you should have played something like this, because I think you would have got your sort of like really intense milsim like experience, but with something with a bit more structure and purpose. That's my hot take.
Probably would have been a much better idea.
Wow. I reckon Jonesy would have got sucked in with all the fucking NFT stuff. Not NFT, the crypto stuff in Tarkov.
Is there crypto in Tarkov?
Yeah, there's some kind of like implement. I don't know. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't play the fucking game. Anyway, 2 Point Campus, a spiritual successor or the follow-up to 2 Point Hospital has been announced for 2022. Guess what? You can create dorm rooms. Okay, Stranger Things, fellas, is coming to Smite. Oh my god. Okay, Left 4 Dead style co-op shooter named the Anacrusis has been announced, and Jonesy absolutely fucking hates it. Let's talk about that one.
I like the way you just jumped over the others because you wanted to talk about this as well. That's what made me laugh, because in your notes I see you put Jonesy hates it. Yeah, because it was trash. It's the enemy type, like mob bodies, whatever you call them, looked crap. They look like the weird aliens from the Attack the Block, like just people in black suits with like crazy spiky hair coming at the back.
I'm gonna watch this trailer in the background while you describe this, just so I get the complete experience and remind myself.
Let's kind of break it down. It's a Left 4 Dead style co-op shooter, but whereas Left 4 Dead is maybe more grounded and gritty, this is like quite shiny and futuristic and space-like. It definitely has an aesthetic that follows kind of We Happy Few, even Deathloop, so you can kind of understand what it is trying to go for. And
but the way they set this up, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like the way they even said like, oh, you're trapped at the edge of a galaxy or whatever, I can't remember, the universe, you're trying to get back. And I was thinking, oh, wow, they've gone super like Star Trek Voyager kind of, oh, you're trying to get home and aliens and da-da-da-da. Then you cut to the actual gameplay footage and it looked super Star Trek-y, like old school Star Trek.
Yeah.
With like
Gorn.
very blocky colours. Not maybe like that specifically the Gorn, but the ship and the guns and everything looked very Star Trek-y.
Yeah.
Then you see the aliens that you're fighting, and I was like, is this like a stand-in? Is this like alpha footage where they've just put in these weird black suit people with like janky heads coming at you like this?
It would have been cool if they came at you in T poses.
You then have the compulsory, can you act like you're having fun while you're playing the game voiceover from the people, like, oh, what are we going to call this type of enemy? Should we call them heavies, or should we call them brutes, or should we call and like, oh, this is not what people talk like when they're playing this sort of game. And it was just a bit of a bizarre kind of thing, and yeah, it made me not want to play this at all.
And it
looked janky.
And yet, Alex Jones, the person who was involved in it, Jamie, did he write it, or what was his involvement?
In the Anacrusis specifically?
Yes, because it's Chet Falischek of
I don't know.
Valve and Half-Life fame.
Yeah, I don't know what his involvement is specifically in terms of what his role in this game is.
Because he is a writer, right? So
yes, he's a writer by trade. He was a writer on Half-Life 2 episodes 1 and 2, on the first Portal, on both Left 4 Dead games, the second Portal, and apparently even Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I don't know what writing that.
Oh, interesting. He was also involved in Valve's work on virtual reality with the Vive.
Yes.
Weird.
He ran a website with Eric Wolpar.
Yes.
The other guy who was a Valve writer. And still is. He came back to help with Half-Life and stuff.
Weird.
So, yeah, but I will just say, I've rewatched the trailer, and get ready for this, folks. I think Jonesy's right.
That's not something you get every week.
No, I think that there are some cool elements in terms of the art style and some of the the level design, the aesthetic kind of matches, and I think some of the detail on the character models and the weapon models is actually okay. But the thing that is glaringly bad about it, to my eye at least, is the enemies, both in terms of the enemy variety and just the way they're animated. The way the hordes move doesn't look right. They almost look like they kind of stop and to a standstill when they get too close to the human player, and they don't quite know what to do. They've got a weird sort of when there's a slight sort of janky transition between something dying and something going into a ragdoll.
Yeah.
Everything about the way I recommend anyone who wants to sort of like put some images to these ideas, go and check out the trailer. But it just doesn't quite look right, which is a shame. Because, actually, is it a shame? Do we need more Left 4 Dead likes? I feel like everyone's making Left 4 Dead likes.
Yeah, we don't need any.
I don't know. Like, the people who made Left 4 Dead are making Left 4 Dead likes, and now the person who wrote Left 4 Dead is making a Left 4 Dead like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Hey,
try not to be cynical, but we'll see.
Auto chess, it's the new thing, yeah. Anyway, Koch Media announced a new publishing label. That's right, we've gotten to the point where in a kickoff commencement conference to E3 or the period around E3, it's come down to the fact that we are now announcing publishing labels. So this one,
this was weird.
Cool. This one is called Prime Matter, and they've got 12 games coming up, including the likes of Payday 3, a new Gungrave title, and a new Painkiller game. Okay. Then
this is something I will just say. I think we're going to see more of tomorrow night, the night as this is being uploaded. Basically, as you're listening to,
because Koch Media have their own thing, right?
Basically, yeah. Koch Media announced their own thing, and then Deep Silver, who are the people who have the kind of, that's the Homefront, Dead Island, Saints Row, Time Splitters people. They basically came out and said, hey, none of our cool stuff is going to be there. So basically the only things left were things like Payday and Kingdom Come, if you remember that sort of like medieval-ish kind of game. So Kingdom Come was a part of this weird sizzle reel, but I don't think they've actually announced a new game, as is the case with Payday 3. But then even Payday 3 seemed to just be like an image, and they said the words Payday 3. I don't know.
No, did they had a few? They had some like Payday 3 is the one with the clown masks and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, they had some CGI stuff where they were like standing around together and they like had put a mask down on a table or something. But there wasn't. Yeah, you're right. There wasn't masks.
But I think at the moment is literally just like there's a picture or two of like people standing around in masks.
That's mad.
But yes, I think by the time this podcast is out, I think we'll know more about that stuff. I think that's what the Koch Prime Time is about. Which
yeah, so
is that how we're pronouncing? Is that how we're pronouncing that name?
Is it not Coke? Is it not Coke? Like
I would have thought. I would have thought if it's like German, then it's Koch.
But you know, like the Koch brothers isn't one of them died? Like the billionaires, isn't that how they spell their name? Koch.
I don't know.
Koch brothers.
Anyway, fellas, moving on. Blood Hunt has been announced, a battle royale game set in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, and it comes out this year. Now,
this sounds interesting, like in a battle royale sense. Like some of the stuff they showed seemed like it might be cool, but
could be cool. But then again, they also haven't finished the other game that they're working on.
No,
in fact,
they just push it.
Didn't they like push it indefinitely?
Yeah, something like that. They said, we don't know when, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a bit odd.
It's almost like fucking Cliff Blazinski's like, oh yeah, we're making a game. No, we're not making a game. We're making a battle royale. Remember that?
Yeah,
Radical
I do remember
Heights?
that. That was radical. Yeah, with the BMXs.
Yeah,
that was a weird time.
Radical.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. This is strange, but yes.
Then there was
vampires.
Then there was a Tales of Arise trailer. I don't care. Fast and Furious vehicles head back to Rocket League next week. Okay. That game company, Sky, Children of Light, launching on Switch this month, which is pretty cool. Also means that they're not going to announce it, hopefully, at Nintendo's conference. More space for more interesting stuff to talk about.
You're just looking at the runtime of Nintendo's Direct, and you're like, well, that's one less game, and you're just
exactly
more time for Breath of the Wild 2. Baby.
Exactly, Betty. All right.
Actually,
yeah.
I'm going to ask up front now, Chris, because I don't think I did it last week in our kind of like previous predictions. Maybe we did. I'm just forgetting. Do you think we see Breath of the Wild 2 this week?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I do.
That's it. That's what I wanted to ask.
Booyah. Overwatch 2.
Josie's thinking about it. Josie's thinking.
Yeah, because
I love it.
Jonesy loves a fucking argument. That's why. So when Jonesy goes like this,
there's a weird thing with Nintendo that
you see.
There's a weird thing with Nintendo that they never do what you think they're gonna do. Like they seem to be oblivious to anything outside of Nintendo.
Well, you know what? You know what I love was all those fucking. What was it? What was the publication? TechCrunch? Probably not. But it was like, oh yeah, the Switch Pro is going to be announced before E3, like 3 weeks before E3. It's going to be announced this week. Oh no, it wasn't announced last week. It's going to be announced this week. Oh no, well there's only 1 week left to E3, and it's got to be announced this week. Where is it?
Some pretty high profile names made that call and were completely wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what else I heard this past week? And again, take this with a pinch of salt, confirm rumor, whatever you want to call it. Some guys out there saying that, and a fairly a guy who knows his shit says that the Metroid Prime trilogy or whatever it ends up being is done, has been done for a long time, but Nintendo just aren't going to put it out until it makes sense to put it out. And with all the stuff going on right now with Zelda and so on and so forth, and how far away Metroid Prime 4 is, I should say, there's just no point in putting out re-releases of those games, but they've got it when they need it.
Yeah,
basically.
because they're still selling Animal Crossing and Mario Kart.
They are literally. I think they do whatever they want, and if you try and guess what they're going to do, I think you just get it wrong because you're basing it on like other stuff and logic and and they're like.
I wonder if it's even more vindictive than that. I wonder if it's a case of they read all these rumors and they're like, well, you know what, motherfuckers, we were going to announce it, but now egg on your face because we're not going to announce it. Go fuck yourselves.
That would still mean that Nintendo were reacting to other people outside of Nintendo, and I don't think they do that at all.
So you think
I think they are beholden to themselves only.
You would think they are like fucking, what are they in the Marvel universe? Observers, and they're just like completely detached from humanity and just going about their own business. I like
yes.
I'm on board.
You cannot figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. Maybe. Do you remember when Quentin Tarantino tried to do that and the script for The Hateful Eight leaked and he was like, well, I'm not going to make it. You've all read it already. And then he did it like a stage play with all the actors who would eventually be in the movie. And he was like, fine, I'll make it. Weird dude.
Oh, man.
Very weird dude.
Anyway, moving.
He's the Kojima of movies, isn't he?
Hang on, watch your tongue.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
Careful.
All right. Before a fight breaks out, let's talk about Overwatch 2 because it's a new game director. Because there's no more. My name is Geoff. The new game director showed off Baptiste and Sombra's new looks. Stop the presses. World exclusive. And in a separate kind of instance, just wanted to let you know, Overwatch 2 is getting crossplay, but for some reason, potentially not cross progression. It's a little bit strange, but whatever. It is what it is. Overwatch 2 is a thing that we still have no idea why it exists.
It exists. Oh, mate, it's because it's gone 5v5.
Oh, yeah. That's
why.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Fuck tanks.
Big change. Big change.
I also felt really sorry for this director because, like, all the important people like Jeff Goldblum and Ryan Reynolds and Giancarlo Esposito just, like, called in. Like, they were just on their phones. This dude fucking showed up, was stood there with Jeff in person, and Jeff was like, what do you got for me? He was like, I can show you 2 skins, and then left.
There was a weird section as well where you know where you say goodbye to someone and then they say goodbye to you and then you say goodbye again and you're like, oh shit, I already said goodbye. Now I've said goodbye to many times. I thought there was a set like for a minute that he says, oh thanks Jeff, bye, and then he's like, oh yeah thanks, bye. I thought the guy was going to go, thanks Jeff, and it would have been this really weird.
The worst thing of those is when someone says, hi, how are you? And you say, I'm fine, thanks, and how are you? And then there's I'm good, thanks, how are you?
And you don't know whether to respond again.
Yeah. Or when your waiter or waitress brings you your food and they say, enjoy your food, and you say, you too.
Did you guys from these skins, like they looked totally Overwatch, it was fine. I got some weird like Fortnite and Apex vibes. Maybe it's how they just shot it, how they filmed it, the fact that it was just all white, but it didn't feel as Overwatchy as I may. I haven't played Overwatch for a decent while now. Or maybe it's I've just seen too much.
Maybe it's the inverse. Maybe those other games are influenced too much by Overwatch.
Yeah, very possible.
But I will be honest with you, Alex Jones. Anytime anything Overwatch 2 related, I just kind of gloss over, stare at my balls.
Which is weird.
Weird game.
Overwatch was such a good game, and I really enjoyed that for a long time. But I just don't give a shit about Overwatch 2 at all. Which is odd. Like, why do I not want to know more about it? Why am I not into it?
But I think maybe we were never like that into Overwatch to begin with, and I wonder if
I was super into Overwatch for a while.
I mean, in a Jonesy way, not in a real world way. And I think
I don't know what that means.
I think people like you get people who are into a game and they'll be like fucking well into a game, whereas like you'll enjoy it. I'm not trying to discount your enjoyment of it, but I wouldn't say that you are part of the fandom.
No, not
okay.
No, you're right.
So I wonder if you speak to someone who's part of the fandom and be like, Overwatch 2, and then I'll be like, oh, I can't fucking wait for it. Do you know what I mean? I just don't know. I don't know what the consensus is other than us just ripping the shit out of it.
There's also an element of this, and this is a really bad analogy I'm going to set up front, but I'm going to use it anyway. But it's like Overwatch felt like a really solid like foundation. They added characters, they added maps and stuff like that. It just made sense for what it was. Like in a way that like reminded me of pizza. Like pizza's really good, and it's a really good foundation. It's just there, and everyone likes it. If someone came to you and said, "I'm going to make pizza 2," you'd be like, "What do you mean pizza 2?" And then you'd say, "Well, this one's going to have more meat and more," and you're like, Those are toppings.
That's just
like,
pizza.
You don't. That's just pizza.
I like this
Like,
analogy.
there's no such thing as
I like
pizza
this
too.
analogy.
Yes, there is, mate, and it sucks. Do you know what it is? Calzone.
So Overwatch 2 is
needs
the
it?
calzone
Nothing wrong
of
with
the
the
pizza
calzone.
world.
Nothing wrong with calzone.
Mate, no one needs it.
No, nothing wrong with calzone.
If you go to a Pizza Hut, if you go to a pizza or a pizza restaurant in general, and you've got 10 people there, you're the only one ordering calzone. Like,
True.
if you're the person ordering it, 9 people are ordering pizza, 1 person's ordering calzone, and Overwatch 2 is the calzone of.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, I'm okay with ordering pizza again if you're gonna add. If this time it's gonna come with garlic bread and some wings and stuff like that. Don't try and convince me it's not pizza at the end of the day. Just be happy that I am one of the
Jamie.
people who might be willing to spend £40 again.
Jamie, you don't get it. It's
Because I kind of am.
pizza 2 is pizza where the cheese is purple. You know,
I'm
cheese
out.
pizza.
I'm out.
Yeah.
That's like when they made green ketchup. It's just wrong. I
that
don't
was,
like
that was
I
the
don't want
the Shrek tie-in.
it. I thought it was for like I don't know, cancer or something.
What about if it's stuffed crust?
See, stuffed crust Overwatch, it's kind of the same deal. Like when you think about it, stuffed crust is you're eating pizza, dude.
But
Like
some people only eat stuffed crust.
Do you know what I'm going to do when I'm going to buy Overwatch 2? I'm going to load it up for the first time. I'm going to be the last person on my team to pick a character because I'm not fast enough. I'm going to realise there are no supports. And I'm going to be like, well, I might as well be Lucio because I like him. He's cool. And then I'm like, hang on a second. Like, this map was in the first game. I'm playing Overwatch again.
But Lucio's got different clothes.
Yeah, and also I've got one less person to keep alive. Oh well.
There's a proper skit in there somewhere, isn't there? Where like someone thinks that they're playing this like amazing thing. They get in there, it's like, but it's just Overwatch.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, fellas, can I interest you in some Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin? No? Okay. Endless Dungeon. You probably don't give a shit about that either, but I will say this confuses me because it's in the whole endless kind of pantheon. You've got Endless Space, Endless Legend, and now Endless Dungeon. But the strange thing is, fellas, this company released a different game called Dungeon of the Endless. What the fuck are they doing? Why are they on drugs? Do you know who else was on drugs? Giancarlo Esposito.
Wow.
I'm blowing it all
Actually,
fucking wide open for you.
I
Yes,
think you've hit the nail on the
that's
head
right.
here, Chris.
Yeah. Drugs.
This is what Blizzard do to get away with it. It's not Overwatch 2, it's Watch of the Over. It's like a completely different game.
There is a weird thing that COVID has done to stuff in general, but like with anything like this, right, where you have Giancarlo rocking up, is you have millions of people tuning in to watch Geoff Keighley in his lovely pink t-shirt and his suit stand on stage and try, present and try and get everyone hyped up for Summer Game Fest and like the start of E3 and everything. And then you've got some actor sat in his house with his webcam on, exactly like we have right now. And it gets this weird juxtaposition between this big time studio production and this big event and everything. And then some dude who's like rocked up halfway through the day, probably before he goes to take his kids to the swimming pool and go shopping, and it was weird, but it is what it is.
He had a Peloton bike in the back. Like, it's just a dude.
I'd love it if it was one of those things where it's like the BBC interviews early morning where they interview some professor and there's just a fucking dildo stuck on a on like a shelf behind them. But you do bring up an interesting point. Like I was watching this and I was thinking to myself, why does Geoff always do this? Why, Geoff? It's like he's making...
Why does he do what?
I don't know. It's just like he has this whole production and they're doing the rehearsals and it's almost like... We've kind of spoken about it before in different topics where it's kind of like people who are trying to make a product, but they're stuck so much in TV production or stage production that it's like, well, we've got to have a stage.
Yeah.
And you've got to have a stage and you've got to have, cut to this and cut to that. And it's just like, I feel like we've moved on so much, and it's not like I'm not saying like, oh, just do it like we do it with just fucking 3 webcams, like because we've had that. I think the last Summerfest was technically like that. But in terms of stuff like this and the Game Awards and whatever, especially when you don't have a live audience, when you don't have an event, why do it like this? Like you look at how Nintendo do their directs, that's perfectly fine. Like I just don't. It blows my mind. Fair play to him. Like he's adamant about it, and he knows what he wants, and he's fucking going for it, and he's trying to kind of like carve his own niche, and I gotta respect him for that. But at the same time, just like, dude, it's just nonsensical.
I think he's just old school.
Yeah,
I think he's
time.
from like the G4 Spike TV school of video game coverage, where like your show is bigger and has more mainstream appeal if you tell people about Weezer before it. Like, it's not true. We're in an era where games sell themselves. Like, the single biggest thing, the only thing that this show will be remembered for, with all due respect to every other game, is the thing we're going to, be talking about in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But, like, Geoff would still rather tell you that Giancarlo Esposito is going to call in than tell you about, Tales of Arise, because that's the school of thinking he's from, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. But you're right, like...
I'll have a little bit of insight. So I used to work for MTV right back in the day. This is going back like about 15 years or so. And it was a weird moment in time because it was like when the transition from studio production to kind of like and live studio stuff and pre-recorded, edited, like not in an editing booth, but edited like on just a computer, to sort of like more the YouTube way that things are done now. And there was a stable of people who worked there who were massively against it being pre-recorded and done, just edited like on a normal desktop, because the problem was that as soon as you give that ground, I think you move away from what you do and what those people did, which was live TV production, and you end up doing what we have done for like a number of years, which is more like YouTube pre-production, easier to do. I think it's all about barrier to entry. And the problem if Geoff sits in front of his webcam, which he's done many times, and we've watched him do, and he had some shots from in this show, is that why are you watching Geoff Keighley on a webcam talking about games and show trailers when if you're like a restream or whatever, you could almost be bigger than Geoff Keighley's stream. Yeah. By cutting Geoff out, cutting yourself and your mates in, and then cutting to the game trailers, you could effectively do without.
But you could do the same thing with this one. What I don't understand, and I'm not saying that he has to sit in front of a fucking webcam, but I'm saying.
But there's a big deal. I think there's a difference. There's a stage. There's a thing going on when it's a production level of production difference, and you couldn't say, "Oh, we were just as legit as them." Do you see what I mean?
I don't know. What was the worst fucking part of this conference? The Geoff sections.
I like Geoff is a bit quirky and he's a little bit much and stuff. But I like the Geoff stuff.
Like I said, Geoff's fine, and I completely respect the dude. But I just I'm just nitpicking now. I can identify that.
No, I think we're all making good points. I just think it's a weird grey area. Like when a dude like this has gone as out of his way as he has to bring back, whether it's this or whether it's the Game Awards, to bring back these kind of like pretty old school ideas that he, at the end of the day, organises and arranges himself, and as a result can and will put himself front and centre. It's just a weird, like, it's unlike anything else that anyone does.
But maybe that's why he does it. I don't know.
Maybe. Like I remember getting to the point with Ubisoft press conferences back before E3, before E3 changed, where every Just Dance promotion, they'd bring out, dancing pandas and ninjas. And like, I remember getting to the point where I liked it. I remember watching Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle being announced with Yves Guillemot and Shigeru Miyamoto going back to back with blasters in their arms and just thinking, fucking okay, yeah. Like, Yves is a character, Ubisoft are characters, this dance shit is stupid. Okay. But I'm all for it.
But let me ask you a question. Imagine that exact same conference and remove the audience.
Well, then that's like saying imagine a TV comedy and remove the laugh track. They're all shite.
Oh, but this is bad, aren't they?
But this is kind of what I'm saying about the show. It was like you're doing a show for an audience that's not there, and then the audience is just sat on their fucking couch scratching their assholes. Like, it just created this weird fucking thing
But
for me. But anyway,
that's 99% of the audience anyway these days, though, right? Is they're sat on their couches. It's almost like a bit of the fact that the actual audience on there is kind of here nor there, right?
I tend to disagree, but I'm
I'm
willing to move on.
Can I tell you something, Chris?
Yeah.
I was a film student. I left school wanting to make films. I went to college to learn filmmaking. I joined the company where I met you guys with a proficiency in, or a pretend proficiency in filming stuff and editing stuff and so on and so forth. I would rather watch the Game Awards over the Oscars on any night of any week.
Oh
of
yeah,
any month
I
of any year.
agree with you on that one for sure. All right.
So Geoff's doing something right.
Anyway, Grumpy Chris is moving on because the dudes that made Call of Duty Zombies at Treyarch have announced a new game studio, fellas. So first we had a game publisher being announced. Now we had a game studio being announced. And this game studio is called Decorators Games. Yeah?
Well, not quite.
Close.
Close.
Decorators.
I think you've got a bit of autocorrect going on there, Chris. A bit of mental autocorrect.
Oh, fuck, it was Deviation Games, wasn't it? I was kind of confused because, I mean, quite clearly 2 decorators came out and, you know, they had some merch on.
Painter decorators, please, Chris.
Painter decorators. I don't know.
Don't slight their craft.
I mean, fair play to them. You know, Call of Duty Zombies is a fucking massive thing and they obviously know what they're doing. But it just was like 2 British blokes coming on stage and be like, yeah, Deviation Games.
It was funny because this was not long, this was when all 3 of us were watching at the same time and kind of, we didn't spend too much of our WhatsApp session poking fun at the whole show.
Yeah.
But this was where things got particularly weird, right? Like, this was where things got off the rails.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, we're announcing developers, 2 British dudes are standing around using, like, weird analogy, not quite Cockney rhyming slang, but they're saying weird things to describe.
Oh, I've known the guys donkey years and, you know, like...
Donkey's years.
We're going to make these games great soup to nuts and weird shit like. But also, like, talking about the fact that they clearly don't have a game, nothing's in development. They're really just there because they want to advertise the fact that they're hiring, which they did by showing pictures of them, like...
Pointing at the merchandise.
Pointing at the T-shirts, and then the famous escalator shot that I really hope someone picks up and turns into a meme somehow, but...
The best thing about this, like, I don't want to be a dick about this because I've worked for companies like this. We've done stuff like this, like where you do the oh, look, isn't this funny? You know, we've had bosses who talk about the company you work for and they kind of try and frame it and they kind of like big things up and talk about how great they are and stuff. I get all of that. I get the corporate speak. It has a place. All of that having been said, it is hilarious to watch something like this and hear 2 blokes stand on stage and go, we're not just making games, we're deviators, we're weird and wacky. And you're like, dude, you're on a stage with Geoff Keighley wearing T-shirts that say deviation. It's like people with T-shirts that say punk, like doing completely normal everyday things. And you're like, you're not being very punk. Like, what sort of deviator are you if you're on Summer Game Fest to go, we've started a new company and we're good friends, we are. And it's just a little bit cringe. But fair, like, I'm not trying to take anything away from them.
I'm sure they're super talented dudes. I'm sure they're going to make great things, and I'm very happy for them to get to like what they were, I guess, sort of announcing that they're working with and collaborating with PlayStation. That's awesome, but at the same time, like, what a weird thing. Like, towards the back end, like towards the business end of a game-heavy E3 opener, we're announcing we're announcing the launch of a company that aren't making a game with these 2 British dudes. Who are just like, we're best mates.
Geoff tried to sit in at one point, was like, can you tell us anything about what you might be working on? And they're like, well, we are deviators and whatever we make is going to be wacky and crazy.
Get me wrong, he did that with Hideo Kojima, but Hideo Kojima is allowed to come onto a show like this and not have a game to show because he's Hideo Kojima.
Yes. He has a track record and a pedigree.
The decorators...
It begs the question. So I think I have a little conspiracy theory that they were supposed to have something, which is so there was a slot for them to be there to talk about or to allude to something. But for whatever reason, it was decided that there wasn't a point at which they could talk about something. So they said, well, we can't talk about that. Okay, you've got anything else to talk about? No, we haven't. Well, we've got a slot for you in the show now, and if we don't put you in, it messes up.
Oh my God.
So they were like,
I can just imagine that right now, like a sweaty Geoff Keighley wearing a wife beater holding his belt in a loop. He's like hitting his production assistant. Like, what do you mean? They should have come with the trailer. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did have a little treat before the show, which was we went to their website because they are wacky deviators.
We're just making us sound like bullies now.
No, because this is not bullying at all. Because they're not going to hear this, so it doesn't matter.
They might.
But on their website,
We're never going to work at Deviation Games, I'll tell you that much.
But I wouldn't mind working there. I bet it's a great company. I bet there'll be a cool company. I'm sure it'll be fun to work there. But if you're going to go onto a stage and say how crazy and oh, we're insane, and then your website has got you and your team, and the insane things you do is wear big glasses and a feather boa in your deviant capacity, I'm like, okay. We've been
goofy.
There, man.
Just call yourself Goofy Games. It's more accurate.
I have been on a website for a company and do a pose for this thing, and it is what it is. We all do it.
Yeah. You don't want to do it, and then your boss tells you have to do it. So it's like, okay.
They seem fine.
Wow.
I'm sure they'll make cool games in the future.
Can I give you
Zombies is wicked. I love zombies, so there you go.
Do you want a quote from the PlayStation blog that one of the co-founders of Deviation Games has written?
Yeah.
Another way of saying deviator is Renaissance mindset. Deviators are not only passionate about their own discipline, but they love others too. We believe that is what is unique and just special about us. Like, it's just weird when you've got so much to talk about in terms of actual games that you're writing blog posts talking about your Renaissance mindset that you're bringing to game development. But on the other hand, I would say that PlayStation have tweeted this out. The announcement that they are working to develop a new IP has got over 200,000 views, and they have shot up to 16k followers on Twitter. So again, PlayStation fans are listening. Cool things could come from this, and we might have to.
They're going to make something cool. Like, they're working with PlayStation. They have made cool stuff in the past. Like, they're hiring all this year and they're getting a good team behind them. It's going to be cool, but that doesn't mean we can't laugh at the fact that they were a little bit too overstated and how wacky and crazy they are.
I can tell you the teams behind some of our favorite games are probably the fucking weirdest people, a collection of people, or the goofiest collection of people, or the most deviant collection of people that you'd ever imagine. But yeah, the products speak for themselves.
The only reason we're laughing about it anyway is because they had no game. Because if they had a game to show, we'd just be saying.
And because they came out like fucking Only Fools and Horses. All right, Jamie, what were you going to say?
It's funny that you mentioned the Only Fools and Horses reference. I feel like I'm inside the Matrix now. I don't know what's going on. But so they tweeted over 10k followers in just a couple of hours. Thanks for the support. They linked on that tweet to a video uploaded 5 hours ago on their YouTube channel, the only video on their YouTube channel, called Ode to Joy.
Yeah.
And it is like, it's a weird montage of them, like, there's one scene very early on where one of them is pretending to get a tattoo of the Deviation Games logo on his arm, but like they've, when you try and like track something in After Effects,
yeah.
It's like it's just a not particularly well done one of those that doesn't look good at all. Then it's like
Brilliant.
There's like doing a photo shoot in a pub, and like one of them's pretending to hit the other one over the other head with a chair. And then you mentioned Only Fools and Horses. There's a bit where, again, it might be for the video, I don't know why. They're in a pub, they've both got a pint of beer, they cheers each other, and they turn around. There's a framed painting of Winston Churchill, and they go, "Cheers, Winston." Like, what is this? It's not that crazy, but it's just, I feel like this whole. I don't know why. This is Belfry again. This is another Belfry. Like, why is this interesting? Why are we talking about this? Why is this so confusing and yet normal at the same time?
Hey, this is the reason that at least under 1,000 people watch our podcast each week on YouTube.
It takes a unique set of minds to get confused and bogged down in the announcement of a game studio to the point where we talk about it more than any other game in this entire podcast.
Yeah.
So,
It was kind of weird.
You're right.
It would be. Do you know what it'd be? It's like going on a date, right? You go on a date and the girl's wearing a shirt that says "crazy bitch," and you're like, "Oh, why are you a crazy bitch? What makes you a crazy bitch?" She's like, I don't know. I like reading and watching Netflix and eating at McDonald's. And you're like, doesn't sound particularly crazy. And she's like, "Oh, I am." You're like, oh, right.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
What,
I'm crazy. Take my word for it.
What's the saying? Methinks the lady doth protest too much. Like you can say something again and again and again, but it doesn't make what you're saying.
Here's a better question though, Jonesy. What if you go on a first date with a girl and she arrives wearing a T-shirt that says "Ask me about my Renaissance mindset"?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, what's your Renaissance mindset? I make video games. Oh, like what sort of it? Like crazy out there video? Just normal video games.
I was in a video where I pretended to get a tattoo. I would never get a real one though.
Okay.
No, because I'm a
we're just
deviant.
having fun with it. I'm sure they're a lovely bunch of guys and they're going to make some great games. But hey, we're having fun because they didn't announce any games, so we're stretching it out and we're talking about them. So go check out Deviant Games or Deviation.
Deviation, not Deviant.
Oh, also one of my things I have to point out that I did say before the pod. One of my favorite things is in there, and I've worked for companies that have done this sort of stuff. I totally get it. In their logo, Deviation Games, the eyes are deviated from being straight.
They're also deviated from the color of the rest of the word, which makes the logo kind of like dev at on.
But that's wonk. You know, there's a wonk there. Take from that what you want.
That sounds like something you're not allowed to say anymore when you say it like that.
Yeah,
it's a bit wonky.
They're just like, but if you say wonky,
I know what you mean.
It sounds fine. But if you say wonk,
okay.
Yeah, let's
move on.
I feel like
let's
that
move on.
feels
Don't drag
weird.
it out.
Let's not
Don't
say
drag
that
it out.
word anymore.
Just move on.
Can I throw a tweet in Josie's direction though?
Yeah.
Before we get back on track, just this popped up on my feed from an hour ago. Downloaded Escape from Tarkov for the first time in years after today's trailer. Fired up, walked for 45 seconds, stepped on a landmine, died, uninstalled. We'll check back in sometime in 2024.
I don't really even know what I just know from Escape from Tarkov that it's an insanely realistic, like multiplayer military game, but I don't know anything else about it. But that doesn't make me want to play it.
Yeah.
Man, imagine if we were imagine if this was full time and we could have a conversation like this, and it would just be like, right, tomorrow we're launching a new show with like Escape from Stevenage, and it's just Jonesy learning to play Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, well,
and that's just
that's the
what
dream,
do.
right? That's the fucking giant bomb.
Giant bomb. If you're listening,
yeah, you've got lots of money. We got lots of ideas. Let's
anyway.
Let's work together.
Sorry for that deviation, Chris.
Well, it's all right. You know what? One day I'll be back for blood. That's right, the world's worst segue, taking us to Back 4 Blood, which, surprise, surprise, is a Left 4 Dead-esque title coming from Warner Brothers.
Hell yeah.
We have played this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Jonesy is like, meh, whatever. I think you enjoyed playing it as well, Jamie. I think it's fair to say.
I had a very good time playing with you guys, and I would like to do some multiplayer of this when it comes out.
100%. Like, for me, it's potentially even a day one purchase if everyone's on board, because... yeah, I had a really good time with it.
See how many codes there are to go around. I don't know.
4, maybe. Just say.
Who's counting?
But yeah, it looks cool. Nothing mind blowing. Like obviously, Geoff tried his best to kind of hype it up. Like, oh, the first look at a boss that we've never seen before.
Yeah. They're showing this game again in a couple of days.
Yeah, trailer plays out. That boss that you see is on screen for like a fraction of a second before title. Locks onto the screen, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's more Back 4 Blood, and that's a good thing. Cool. Moving on. Tunic, which has been gestating for a very long time. This is the Zelda-like game, but you're a little fox, and it looks very cool. And there's a new demo coming to ID at Xbox next week. And the guy who was explaining things had a very soothing, mellow voice, I thought, and I felt at ease.
It was quite a nice voice. Yeah, and a bit of ASMR actually.
And I think it kind of set me up for, the juxtaposition from the nice, lovely time and cartoony aesthetic of Tunic, taking us to Evil Dead, the game, showcasing a new gameplay trailer with its 4v1 asymmetric gameplay, which, I gotta be honest, looks a hell of a lot of fun. I liked a lot of their animations.
Yeah, there was some good chunky melee in there, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's weird because like it looks good. I want to play it. I'm into it, but then these never ever work.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. When I was watching this, the only thing that was in my head was like, this looks like a hell of a lot of fun. I wish it was single player.
So, right. What's that game that's really popular? That's a horror game and gets lots of tie-ins.
Oh, Dead by Daylight.
Is it one of those?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh,
right. Because
okay.
I couldn't. I'm with you guys. I couldn't really grasp what this game was, other than like it looked slightly prettier than I expected it to.
It looked very.
I thought it was
I
like a
thought,
Friday the 13th kind of thing.
I think it is. Yeah, exactly. It's the
That was another. That was also asymmetric,
Yeah,
right? That was. But then these guys look like they were on the same team at times, right? Like I haven't seen these movies, so I don't know.
Well,
what the deal is.
it's 4v1. So those guys were on the same team, but then there's the other.
But then who was the one?
The one was the guy at the end of the trailer that was like the
with the
undead
sword.
knight with the sword.
This is what I don't
okay.
get about this game because because if it's like a Friday the 13th, then it's like 4v1 or however many v1, but you're all fighting Freddy, who is a person. But then Evil Dead is obviously it was just zombies. There was no one specific person. Right?
Deadites.
So then how is that? Sorry,
Deadites.
okay. But then how are you? Like, who are you? Are you fighting other little mobs as well, and then you're fighting this enemy? Have you got like zombies and stuff and knocking around? It's a weird one because if it is 4v1 properly and there's a one, then that they don't ever seem to do that well, which is a weird thing to do.
Well, they do because Dead by Daylight does very well.
Does it?
Yeah. So apparently, the player who controls the guy who's called a Kandarian demon.
Yeah.
Right.
You can also possess the good guys, manipulate the environment, and fly. So it looks like maybe they're going to do a little bit more than just, hey, control this one bad guy. There's going to be some environment manipulation. And also the good guys will have the opportunity to loot and craft.
But
yes, and find the necessary items, like pages of the Necronomicon.
But aren't you guys with me? Like, wouldn't you rather have like, okay, maybe not a single player, but like, wouldn't you just have like a story-driven co-op campaign for this game?
Yeah, I've said 100%. That'd be so much
for sure
for me.
Like,
personally,
or like even like we've joked about Left 4 Dead likes, but even just like a 4-player co-op sort of like wave-based or sort of like generic like repeatable action game, probably more to my tastes than 4v1 asymmetric multiplayer. I've just never hit those games. To me, have always. I've never played Dead by Daylight. I know it's extremely popular, but they've always sounded better on paper to me than they've been worked out in practice, and that's just my experience with them.
I was massively put off by what happened with Evolve. Like, I love that game. It did shit. No one liked it, and no one ever wanted to play as the monster. And then when I've tried to play sort of other games like that since, they just seem to. They do like okay, and then some people like them, and they become a bit of a burner, and they become stream games. But they never really seem to be something that a lot of people put time and effort into outside of like a small group. So I hope it does well. I hope it does better. It looks good. It looks cool, but I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, there we go. And then, fellas,
Then it happened.
Then it happened, capping off not only a very interesting and a decent Summer Games Fest kickoff to the year of our Lord 2021, but also capping off the end of this podcast. Elden Ring. It's an actual thing. We saw a trailer. We didn't have mass hysteria of the first trailer. We got to the point where I was like, did that even happen? It did happen. Now we got trailer numero dos.
I mean, Chris, I feel like you're the guy who got it because you're the increasingly becoming our resident FromSoft expert. So I feel like we have to hit you up on gut reaction now that first of all, when you saw the trailer, now that the dust has settled and so on. Someone who's playing Dark Souls at the moment, where's your head at?
I believe technically he is actually now. We should refer to him as From Chris.
From Chris.
From Chris.
Well,
from Chris where?
I'm from simping, which is one of my tweets I put out there.
Simping.
But yeah,
there you go.
I really liked the trailer. I thought there were some gorgeous visuals. Like, I think there's enough eye candy and interesting stuff there that you don't need to be a From Software fan to kind of say, like, that looks fun, that looks pretty, that looks enjoyable. But then you do have to remember, it is a Soulslike from the company that makes Soulslikes. That's not going to appeal to everyone, all right? But yeah, it looked cool. Like, some interesting mechanics that I think would be interesting to kind of explore, like, what is the co-op nature of it? There's been rumors of kind of like a little bit more of an open world. The fact that you can it seems like you can summon a horse and horse combat and what that means. But also part of the trailer, you're like, yep, that's Dark Souls, even though it's not Dark Souls, but it's like
Yeah.
that's Dark Souls. Like
Like-
that is an enemy type that is in every like a boss type in every From Software game. That is a animation that is like fucking recycled from every like. Don't hate on me for saying it. It's true. I fucking loved that trailer. It was really, really cool. I thought it was really impactful. I think there's a lot of striking visuals, a lot of cool ideas, a lot of nice boss designs. I want to get stuck in for sure. Even better, they gave it a fucking release date of January 21st, 2022, and it's cross-generational. Like, they're ticking all the right boxes here.
Yeah. I mean, you from a logistical standpoint, I was genuinely stunned that we saw as much as we did and that it's going to be ready as soon as it was. I'd convinced myself that this thing was a long way off. So
Yeah.
I guess, we underestimated that. I guess the only thing I'm having to tell myself, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like a FromSoft naysayer. I consider myself someone who's just like, it's not that I'm yet to be converted, but it's like, I'm an agnostic, not an atheist, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like when it comes to this shit. And so it's really cool seeing another trailer and feeling the same thing I felt with, Souls games over the years and with Bloodborne and with Sekiro, which is that whether it's sort of like mythical or whether it's gothic, they're always layered with intrigue, whether it's like the voiceovers or the world and the design of the enemies, especially and the bosses. There's always something there that I really want to sink my teeth into. I've just never found the time to give myself over fully to the gameplay. And allow myself to explore those worlds, experience them, firsthand.
Did you ever?
Maybe this is the one that changed. I don't know.
Do you guys ever feel like this? Because this is how I felt, and it's with each successive release that they've had from software, from the point that you became aware of them, whenever it was, and it's almost like okay, Dark Souls. Oh, okay, Dark Souls. I don't care. Dark Souls 2, and it's almost like the talk and the discussion about it grows, and the admiration and the understanding of what From Software do, and it kind of grows and grows with each subsequent release to the point where they're releasing Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, and everyone is like, Bloodborne's the game of the generation on PS4. A lot of people say that. Sekiro is fucking won all these awards, Game of the Year. It's one that I jumped into that got me kind of like hooked on it. Do you not feel that like with every successive game, they're kind of gaining this momentum that's just sucking in more people? Are you guys getting more interested the more stuff that they release and the more you become aware of the kind of discussion around it?
I'm going the opposite way, to be honest. Every time I see one of their games, maybe it's because I've played more of them now. So one of the weird things with this trailer, for example, so like when Demon Souls re-released and I played it on PlayStation 5 and you could see the trailers and stuff, it was like, wow, this game looks incredible. But there was a sense of like I didn't really know, because I hadn't played it yet. I was like, I didn't really know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I could appreciate the visuals, I could appreciate the world building and some of the characters. And it was still the unknown quantity gave me a little bit of excitement, kind of like Jamie's saying, oh, maybe this is the game that I'll sort of play. Then having played some of Demon Souls and played some of Bloodborne, and knowing that I don't really enjoy the cycle and how those games function, watching this trailer for me, I must admit, I got to the first part of the trailer where you get to see like the world and you see that like ethereal tree like glowing.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a visually stunning, like very, very good looking thing. You then got
that
into
dragon with the fucking thunderbolt. Yeah.
Yeah, like all that stuff is very cool. And I was like, oh, it looks fantastic. But you kind of then got into the meat and potatoes of this is what a FromSoft game is. When you started to see a lot more of the bosses, you saw a lot more close-ups of the world. And I kind of got a weird sense of, oh, this is what I would see if I was playing the game. It's going to be very, very well-crafted worlds that look fantastic, but kind of feel pretty empty in some sense. A couple of enemies, and then I'm going to be doing a boss fight, and then I'm going to be doing a boss fight. And then you, as you said, there was a lot of, it's one of those big slashy finger bosses that's going to slash and you're going to have to roll. And then it's like a boss that does, and I was a bit like, it kind of gave me a sense of how I feel when I play a FromSoft game to just watch the trailer. And I was like, I'm sure people will enjoy that trailer and I'm sure people will like the look of that game.
Oh,
but
Alex Jones.
it made me, just from the trailer, I'm like, oh, it's totally not.
Well, congratulations, Jonesy, because something that you mentioned is going to ring absolutely true. You mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast that people are either all in or all out. And you know what? You're on the wrong side of history, buddy, and you're going to get cancelled. That's just like
it looks
everything
cool,
that
like
I'm
it
seeing
looked
on
cool,
Twitter is
but-
like, if you have anything bad to say about this game, you're cancelled, which is ridiculous. I'm aware. I'm not saying it's not my opinion. It's the internet's opinion.
I think it's just it is what it is, and if you I think if you like the sort of game, you're going to be excited for this, and you're going to be hyped, and you're going to be on Twitter. But sorry, Jamie.
That's what I think. That's what I think is so fascinating about it, is because like you're right, it is what it is. You're right, but it's your. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way that makes sense. It is what it is, taken to the nth degree, and it's kind of bizarre for me. Like I consider myself such a boring mainstream gamer, right? Like one of the things I hate answering
Mr.
the
COD and
most is
FIFA
like,
himself.
Totally right, and I hate people meeting me and asking me like, what games do you play? Because how do you say I play everything without sounding like a dick? Because I do consider myself someone that plays pretty much everything when it comes to major like AAA releases when money allows. It's weird we're getting to this fever pitch where like I don't know if I can come to terms with the fact that I am incompatible with what might be like the biggest game of next year. And certainly is one of the most anticipated games in the world right now.
Yeah. So
and that's just it's so odd to me that like that something that's so potentially impenetrable to so many people is becoming so big, and that's fascinating. And I kind of feel like I need to be a part of it.
You feel like
you're
getting the FOMO. Can I ask you a question, Jamie? Did you play Bloodborne?
No, my FromSoft history is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Where I've almost gone full circle, and I was maybe. I'm not going to say I was early to the party, but basically what happened was I remember Demon's Souls came out, and I remember GameSpot giving it their Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And I thought, I remember thinking, I've never heard of this game. And I read their summary of it and thought, what the fuck is this? What the shit? And then I remember Dark Souls came out, and I worked at Blockbuster at the same time, and it was critically acclaimed. And I remember thinking, sounds stupid with hindsight, how difficult can it be? Okay, this is a hard game. How hard can it be? And I bought it from the Blockbuster I worked at and played it. This was back in 2011, 2011, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And I played it, and I was like, "Oh, this is hard. This is kind of like I'm banging my head against the wall. I'm just gonna stop," because I was also younger. I was like 18, and
better things to do with your life than trying to struggle through a game.
Exactly. And for that reason, I've basically ignored every single. I haven't owned a FromSoft game since.
Except for Demon's Souls, which is on your shelf at the back.
Well, yeah, a remake. I own a remake of, and I have Bloodborne on my PlayStation library. Like,
yeah, because it was Game Pass, PS Plus.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But I get to not for over basically a decade now. I have not sat down and said I'm going to play a From Software game.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe that changes.
The reason why I asked is because I mentioned that I fell down the fucking YouTube rabbit hole of watching amateur critiques on all of these games, and a lot of them were saying that Bloodborne is the one that got them into the series. Because
Martin Ruffle tells me that.
Yeah.
Tells me to play this game all the time.
And funny, for me, it was Sekiro, right? But what they were saying about it is getting into Dark Souls is difficult because of how like slow you need to actually play that game, right? Which is kind of opposite to how a lot of modern gaming is. Whereas with Bloodborne, it's less about defense and more about being offensive. In fact, there's a mechanic in the game where you get hit and you can, I think they call it the rally system. Instead of all your health going down, it kind of goes down slowly. And the more you hit other characters, your health gets back. So it kind of rewards you to kind of say, hey, keep pushing forward. Whereas Dark Souls is like, you've got a fucking shield, buddy. Use it. You've got a roll. Use it. And it's a different mentality. And a lot of people saying once they clicked with Bloodborne, which was a lot easier to click with, they found it a lot easier to transition to Dark Souls. But regardless of that, like, I was also curious, you watch a lot of my streams struggling through Dark Souls Remastered. Like, how do you find that? Like, other than just like supporting me. No, but like, do you find it interesting, or does it make you think to yourself, oh, this actually, like, maybe I get it now, or
The honest answer is no. Like
Yeah.
I watch the streams for the entertainment of, like, with all due respect, you struggling with them, but also like being with you when you overcome those obstacles.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the euphoria that one feels when you overcome those obstacles is just as strong. You know, I would feel that just as strong as if I was going through it myself, as I can do vicariously through you. But Dark Souls specifically, as you play through it on Twitch. I have not had a moment where I've been watching it and thought, man, I should just play this myself.
Yeah, fair enough.
That has not happened. No.
Fair enough.
But I see this trailer for Elden Ring, and I'm like, I see and acknowledge something that I kind of feel guilty for not giving a go earlier, and I also think about the elements of, like, it's the biggest and latest iteration of that formula. They might be trying some open world stuff that kind of appeals to some of my to things I might like. I just. It sounds like you mentioned FOMO earlier. There is just plenty of that. Like, I don't want to be the guy. I hate being the guy who doesn't get it when it's something I care about so much, and I care about games so much. I don't want to be the guy that doesn't get it. And I know that sounds stupid, but like,
it's funny you say, because I kind of had the same thing, which is one of the, and not just that, it was the visual feast that was Demon Souls, the remake. I found Bloodborne completely inaccessible. I didn't enjoy it. Like, I actively didn't enjoy it, and I didn't like the first. I think I played, like, I don't even know, like, probably a couple of hours maybe, and had no idea what was going on. Literally just like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and didn't enjoy any of it. Then spoke to some people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you probably chose the wrong character, like, to start." And I'm like, "What a stupid game!" And then they're like, "Oh, you probably went the wrong way." Because I was like, I was fighting this dude, and he just kept killing. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you probably went there. You shouldn't have gone there yet. Like, have you found this place yet?" I'm like, "No. What have you?" And I just found that as dumb. And I didn't pay for it. It was on the PlayStation, so I just played it and was like, that can sod off. Demon Souls was a completely different story. I really enjoyed the visuals. I thought it was much more the way that it kind of leads you into your first world and everything. I found much more, not handholdy, but a much more pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But the weird thing I had with it was, once you get to fighting a boss, I was like, I need to overcome this boss, because that's where the reward lies. I did. I then came to my second boss and defeated that boss, like, after a lot of tries. And I was like, when am I going to feel good about the fact that I've stuck with this game and I've defeated a boss? I then went to, like, a second world, and then, did a second world, and was like, is this going to feel fun anytime soon? And I haven't played it since. So what was weird for me was, it wasn't the difficulty that stopped me playing Demon Souls. It was the fact that I'd overcome some difficult stuff. I defeated, like, a number of bosses, and still wasn't feeling any sense of enjoyment for what I was doing, which was weird for me. And that's the point at which I was like, I think I'm kind of out for the time being.
What did?
Because I had the same thing Jamie had. I was like, maybe I don't get it, and and if I play it, I'll get it.
So it's the Principal Skinner thing all over again, isn't it?
It's the kids.
It's the kids. I'm also curious as to your guys' recollection of when we streamed Sekiro.
Man,
because we
that looked wicked. I thought it was great. I thought it really, really cool.
Yeah, because obviously on stream we skipped so much. We had no fucking clue what anything did or the fucking actual mechanics of it. I mean, we just kind of like trundled our way through.
Dude, Sekiro was so much better than when we tried to play Dark Souls on stream. Like, Dark Souls was not fun, and we didn't know what we were doing. We kept dying. We lost health every time we came back. We had less health. We didn't know we were fighting this night, that night. We tried to run past people. It was rubbish. And then we played Sekiro, and it was cool. It was a cool world. Yeah. I think I was watching you play it and was like, dude, yeah, you're gonna get that troll and get through the door. And it was a much better experience. At least in Dark Souls. So I think Sekiro for me, maybe Demon Souls are the ones that have looked better to play and played better, but I think it's just not for me. I'd be interested to see what happens if Jamie picks up Elden Ring then next year, and whether he's
I just like I like, I mean, I'm just gonna sound like such a simp right now,
like games.
I like games, I like hype, I like excitement, I like feeding off other people's, I like seeing other people be excited about this shit. I like the prospect of, I liked that trailer, I like the prospect of one of these games being made, hopefully, at least in part, for next-gen platforms. There's a lot to be excited. And I've also, it's one of those things where you never quite, by never starting one of these things in good faith, I've never had to close the door. Technically speaking, apart from Dark Souls 1 10 years ago when I didn't understand what it was, I've never actually given up on a Souls game. I just never started one. Like, so, who knows? But I'm really glad for sake of fans of FromSoft games, for Geoff Keighley's sake, I'm really glad this thing showed up.
Yeah.
It was a great way to end the show, and like a really cool sort of like marker in the ground for the rest of E3. Just like, it's cool to be excited. It's cool that we're seeing big games, and it's easy to forget. Like in the last week or two, we've seen Battlefield, and we've seen Elden Ring, and we've seen Far Cry, and we've seen Horizon. Like, it's really cool
and
to
there's so much more to
big
come
games
as well.
again. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know what the next week's got in store, but that's a really, really cool game to see at this stage. Yeah, I'm jazzed for you guys.
The one thing that I've realized that is exposed for me, something that I didn't realize that I deeply hate, or maybe I didn't deeply hate it, and I've come to deeply hate it. I've come to resent it. Because obviously with all the hype around Elden Ring, my Twitter timeline is all about Elden Ring, and that's great.
Yes.
I enjoy seeing that, especially going through this. People are like, oh yeah, that was cool. Oh yeah, that was cool. Oh my God, fucking Elden Ring. And the universe just fucking explodes. But the thing that I think we need to stop doing, the thing that I'm starting to resent, is everybody fucking all capsing, let's go. I hate it. I hate it now. I've seen it too
I don't
often.
think I've seen that. That's weird.
Mate, I just...
Chris, can I offer you a potentially worse alternative?
Tell me.
Try having a Twitter feed that, as a result of your either followers or in my case, who you follow and so on and so forth, that is actually more of a 50-50 split between video games and football, just before England embark on a major international campaign. So you have a mix of, let's go Elden Ring hype and it's coming home.
Yeah, that sounds like...
Non-stop, it's coming home.
That, you see, like I said, I didn't realize it until almost... You don't notice the fucking cancer cell on your body until it gets pointed out to you, right? And this is what it is.
That's just ask Michael Douglas.
Exactly. In his throat, right? But
one day you're eating out Catherine Zeta-Jones, the next you can't talk.
Let's go. But that's what it is. Let's go is a fucking cancer in my life, and that's why my throat is all fucked up, because I licked the pussy of Let's Go, and I now have throat cancer. And we're all going to die, and it's something we have to come to terms with. But you know what else we have to come to terms with, fellas? The fact that this is almost a 3-hour podcast, and it's the end.
Oh,
big
Jesus
time.
Christ. Too long.
Yeah. So, with that...
Yeah. Well, that's what we get for talking about Deviation Games for half an hour.
Yeah, we fucking deviated big time. So with that, the only thing left, I guess, is a code word.
Oh, man. God, that was a bad time to re-bring up Michael Douglas. Now that's the only thing that's on my mind. And that probably is a little bit... Okay, I'm going to say it now. Whatever Jonesy says is going to be it, because now he's done. Now he's opened up Pandora's box.
I couldn't. I was trying to think of something good, but I completely...
Okay, well, what about if we take Catherine Zeta-Jones and Elden Ring and say Catherine Zeta's ring gave me cancer of the throat?
Wow, that's long.
Let's just say that people can spitball and kind of like freestyle.
No, I know what it's got to be. I know what it has to be. Let's go, all caps.
Oh, fucking no. You've killed me.
At the end of every...
Let's go.
At the end of every comment, let's go, all caps. Let's go. It's got to be. Come on, how did we miss that? It has to be.
Let's go.
Jesus, how do fucking destroy someone? All right, let's fucking go. And with that, we are going. So thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform of your choice, hey, maybe internet radio, shout out to paisleyradio.com. And with that, we'll see you later. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.